Good evening. I want to remind you that if you want to address the board, there is a yellow form back where you register or where you signed in. Please fill it out, and you can go ahead and give that to Ms. Mary Lou Delgado, Administrative Assistant. Welcome, everyone. I call this Gadsden regular school board meeting to order. Today is Thursday, February 27th, 2025, and the time is 5:01. Ms. Delgado, can you please take roll call?
Ms. Flores? Mr. Lira? Mr. Morales?
Present.
Ms. Murillo?
Present.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Present.
Madam President, we have established quorum.
Thank you. Superintendent?
Madam Vice President, board members, thank you for joining us this evening. Principal Word, I think you have a group that's going to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and a presentation for us.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. Welcome to Santa Teresa Elementary. I am pleased to introduce the President of Student Council, Mason Rust, and Bella Quintana. They will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute of the New Mexico flag.
So we'll say it at the same time?
Sí. Wait, at the same time? No. After. Okay. After English.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
You're next. Prometo.
Yo prometo la
lealtad
lealtad
a la
a la bandera de los
Estados
Estados
Unidos de América
Unidos de América
y a la República
y a la República
que representa
que representa
una nación
una nación
bajo Dios,
bajo Dios,
entera con libertad y justicia para todos.
entera
Con libertad
con libertad
y justicia
y justicia
para todos.
para todos.
Saludo a la bandera
Saluda la bandera
Estado de Nuevo México,
del Estado de New México,
el símbolo
el símbolo
los días
los días
de amistad perfecta
de amistad perfecta
entre culturas
entre culturas unidas.
Chao. Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. First and foremost, I want to welcome you to Santa Teresa Elementary. We are excited to share some of the amazing things happening at our school. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Madam President Flores, Board Member Ms. Murillo, Superintendent Dempsey, Director Mr. Arajo, and Mr. Paliu for attending and supporting our recent LEGO event. This event was designed to promote coding problem-solving skills, where students had the opportunity to develop prototypes and code their robot creations. A highlight of the event was when our students recorded a podcast with the president of the LEGO Education. In the evening, we were thrilled to welcome around 200 people from the community, making the event a great success. In regards to our high reliability schools, I have a presentation about, I want to provide you an update on our progress. Our leaders and staff are working diligently to implement this framework, which is grounded in 40 years of educational research with model outline 5 progressive levels that will help and ensure all students acquire knowledge and skills that they need for success in college, career, and beyond. Additionally, the High Reliability Teachers Program recognizes and promotes teachers' effectiveness. And if you can go to the next slide. So the teachers are being recognized because this certification process acknowledges educators' growth and instructional strategies for students' learning and professional integrity. And you can go to the next slide, and then part of the program is that additionally, the high reliability teachers, to assess the program, we conducted a random parent survey during teacher-parent conferences to gauge into the community perception of our changes we're implementing. So out of 150 surveys distributed, all 150 families agree that we have created a climate that supports both emotional and academic success. 106 families expressed support for implementing a uniform policy next year, and 44 families did not support the uniform policy. As an example of how we integrate students and cultural backgrounds into our school, if you can go to the next slide, Mr. Carmona. The next one. So this is some of the comments that the parents left in the forums, and we were very grateful to our parents that took the time to stop and dedicate some of the nice notes. And so, as you can see, we have a lot of parents that were happy with the changes that we're making. So this picture tells you more than words that our teachers are very working together to create a better environment for Santa Teresa, and we're not perfect, but we're learning and we're correcting things to be better. As an example of how we integrate students' cultural backgrounds in our school, I'd like to highlight the work that Mr. Villalba in his folklorico group is a perfect example of celebrating our students' heritage. Tonight, they will perform 2 ballet folklorico dances, Jesucita en Chihuahua and El Sol de la Negra. We hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you for your time and support.
We don't want to message. Did you read it? Dude, no más. Like, come on. De milagro está. Yo pensaba que no iba a salir nada. She's laughing. Le van a correr. Hey, se cae. No, la otra.
Thank you for that beautiful performance. Ms. Murillo, can you please read the mission statement?
The Gadsden Independent School District will provide diverse educational opportunities that empower students to be successful in an ever-changing world. El Distrito Escolar Independiente de Gadsden brindará diversas oportunidades educativas que capacitarán a los estudiantes para tener éxito en un mundo cambiante.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to item number 3, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, thank you for joining us this evening. Our first item, we want to recognize a group of students who got to visit the New Mexico legislature recently. These are STEM students and Project Research students. So Mr. Wogemuth is going to help us with this item.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey, here, pleasure this evening for me to introduce a group of students or representatives of a group of students who on February 13th visited our state capitol. In total, we took 28 students up there. We want to thank the school board and Mr. Dempsey for making sure these opportunities are available for our kids to get these experiences in Santa Fe. Oftentimes, those of us down here in the far south don't get chances to make it up to Santa Fe. I know for many of them, this was their first experience in Santa Fe, and being from southern New Mexico myself, when I was in high school, my first trip to Santa Fe was a school-sponsored event as well. Also want to thank all the principals who helped organize the kids to go, as well as Mr. Richmond and Ms. Garcia, who were the sponsors. So I have a list of things they did here in Santa Fe. However, of our group that's here, they have some things they want to share themselves, so better hear from them than me. So I'm going to invite our students that are here this evening up. Adeline Gamboa from Alta Vista, Rogelio Bentancourt from Alta Vista as well, Abraham Nunez from STHS, Kendall Weinberg from CHS, Janice Martinez from GHS, and Carson March from STHS. We have three members of the group that want to share things with you this evening. So we're going to go ahead and start off with Ms. Kendall Weinberg from CHS to share a little bit about her experience. Kendall?
Hi. So my name is Kendall Weinberg, and I come from CHS. And I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that happened when I went to the capital of New Mexico. So to start off, the Capitol itself is a very beautiful building with beautiful white marble of architecture, and it gave a very, very classy, very elegant kind of vibe going around it. And I was into this chamber, I think they called it, which was the room the big meeting room where all the representatives go and have their big meetings. And I met Sarah Silva, and she's in charge of the Doniana and Otero County, and I come from Otero County. She told me that she wanted to grow Chaparral more and make Chaparral a city and install some fire trucks and just make it Chaparral overall more of a safer place to be at. And I met with the Lieutenant Governor, Howie C. Morales. I could tell that he is a man of great virtue, and he cares about his nation and the good of the people he interacts with. And he gives support to young teens like myself to great opportunities. And thank you.
Next individual that's going to share a little bit is Ms. Janice Martinez from Gadsden High School.
Hello, my name is Janice Martinez. I am class of 2027, and I'd like to say that I had a wonderful opportunity to meet the New Mexico legislator. My experience in Santa Fe was very inspiring because it showed me that no matter where you come from, Anthony, Chaparral, Santa Teresa, you can always change things, whether that being a community, a business, or our state. I had a deeper understanding of what our representatives do and how they got to where they are. I'd like to say thank you for giving us this opportunity to travel and meet who our New Mexico legislators are. Thank you so much.
And then our last speaker this evening will be Mr. Rogelio Bentancor from Alta Vista Early College High School.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Madam President and Superintendent Dempsey. My name is Rogelio Betancourt, and I'm a freshman at Alta Vista Early College High School. And I had the privilege of assisting the trip to the Capitol building in Santa Fe this past February 13th. This was a very fun experience, and for most of us, some of us, it was our first time going there, and it taught us a lot of things about how the government in New Mexico works. So it was a trip where we learned a lot of things, but it was also a very fun trip for those of us who don't usually travel. So it was very fun, and I really hope that the district keeps funding trips like this, so to give kids from our communities an opportunity to travel to these places. Thank you.
And to bring us home, we're going to hear from Ms. Patsy Garcia. Did you want to share anything for Project Search? Anybody want to share anything?
Yes, I actually want two of my interns to come up. Carson actually.
Okay, that's fine. Knock yourself out.
So we do want to say thank you, Mr. Dempsey, school board. This was an amazing opportunity for some of the Project Search interns. 4 of them got to go. They had an amazing time, first time for all. They were raving about Cheesecake Factory. And I do want Carson to share his experience. You ready?
Hello, school board. My name is Carson Marsh, and I would also like to give out my experience for the field trip. I'd say meeting the lieutenant governor has to be like one of my good things about my bucket list. And then I'd also like to say that the trip took us a good amount, almost like took us a while to get there, but we did enjoy like our fun time of like playing games on the bus and then just like chilling and all that. And then when we got to go to the Capitol, we also got to see the experience of the tour. And I got to say the tour made our day go pretty good. And we got to see the Senate, like building, like part of the building where the House of Representatives speak, and the Senate chamber is like 1 floor above. I would also like to thank my instructor, Ms. Garcia, for bringing me along to the trip. And I also like to thank the school board for inviting us to the field trip.
Oh, wow. Good job, buddy. Did you guys want a picture? Picture?
Carson.
Everybody? Carson. We're going to do a picture. Real fast.
Real quick, buddy.
Right now?
Yeah.
Thanks. That's all good. Get up there, see.
Good job.
You can take a picture.
Good job. You got away with this.
Come on, man. You guys are dead. Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna hear my phone. Yeah, do that. Closer.
On the side.
Ready, everyone? Right here. 1, 2, 3.
One more for the mom. Huh? Oh.
Well, I'll just note that the Cheesecake Factory was Miss Delgado's idea and the work behind it, so I always thank her because nothing good comes from my office unless she's involved, okay? Update on the Gadsden Middle School construction. Ms. Cadena and Ms. Vela.
Good evening, Vice President, Board Members, Superintendent Dempsey. It's my pleasure to bring to you the update on Gadsden Middle School construction. The demolition and the site cleanup will be complete by the end of this week. We're at the end of February already. The concrete footings and stem walls are in progress. The framing of the locker rooms is in progress. Underground, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, rough-in continues to progress in the academic building. And the construction progress meetings are held bi-weekly at 9 in the morning at the Support Services Building, and our next meeting will be on March 12th. We have a couple of pictures to show you so you can see. This is the site work where they already demo of the other buildings, and those are the plumbing rough-ins. You will see. Next one. You can see better the footings and then the plumbing. They already start also in the renovation of the existing gym, the one that we are gonna keep. And this is a picture of the framing of the locker rooms as well. Next one, that's another picture. That's it. Do I stand for any questions?
Any questions, comments? We're good. Thank you, Ms. Vela.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, bilingual recognition for Riverside Elementary and Loma Linda Elementary. Ms. Terizona.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Madam President and Superintendent Dempsey. It is with great pride that I share some wonderful news with you. Loma Linda Elementary and Riverside have been honored with the Bilingual Multicultural Education Program Recognition Award by the Language and Culture Division. This prestigious recognition highlights the exceptional commitment of both schools to fostering bilingualism, academic excellence, and cultural enrichment. The official recognition will take place on Friday, March 7th at the State Capitol Roundhouse in Santa Fe. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the administrative team and all the teaching staff at both Loma Linda and Riverside. Their unwavering support to dual language program is truly commendable. Their passion and dedication shine through their daily efforts to ensure that English learners receive the highest quality education. Not one that only meets their linguistic needs, but also embraces and celebrates cultural diversity. This achievement is a statement of their hard work, and I am honored to recognize their efforts. We do have Principal Quinn from Riverside here today, and Assistant Principal Ms. Munoz from Loma Linda. Come on up, ladies.
This is exciting. Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey for this recognition and for your continued support of bilingual education and our district's bilingual program. This honor is a testament to the incredible work of our bilingual teachers, staff, students, and diverse communities we serve. We are proud to be part of a district that values and promotes bilingual education through the dual language model. I have witnessed firsthand how our students strive in both languages, and I look forward to seeing their continued success. Thank you very much.
Buenas tardes. Gracias, vicepresidenta y miembros de la mesa directiva y superintendente Dempsey, por este reconocimiento y por su continuo apoyo a la educación bilingüe y al programa bilingüe de nuestro distrito. Este honor es un testimonio del increíble trabajo de nuestros maestros bilingües, personal, estudiantes y las diversas comunidades a las que servimos. Nos sentimos orgullosos de formar parte de un distrito que valora y promueve la educación bilingüe a través de un modelo de lenguaje dual. He sido testigo de cómo nuestros estudiantes prosperan en ambos idiomas y espero ver su continuo éxito. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Is it picture time?
Perfect. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Madam Vice President, board members, our next item is our parent communication. And so each meeting, we're going to try to give you some analytics from each of those. This is Remind, I believe, and social media. So 49,000, a little over 49,000 messages were sent. 92% message successful. So it gives you a rating of how successful those messages were. This is our sender rates. That'll give you a little bit additional information on what that looks like. Keep going to the next one there, Mr. Carmona. Social media. Mr. Carmona, I think we're a little off center on those. I wonder if we can we adjust those screens somehow? Yeah, there we go. Perfect, thank you. That'll give you some additional information on the demographics and the social media followers that we have. And then if we can get to the next one, again, additional information. Those are specific messages and how many people interacted with those different messages. Next slide. No, Mr. Carmona, if you can explain a little bit more in detail, I think that'll help everybody.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Mr. Dempsey. So that list there is for you if you'd like to follow specific campuses. If you click on the PDF symbol on that page, it'll take you to an active page where it shows you the directions. And what I recommend for you and most of our parents, you don't necessarily have to download the app. Okay, so a lot of people are kind of hesitant to download an app. You can get all of your messages directly as a text message once you join those classes, once you join those schools. So the directions are pretty easy. You just send a code to 81010 and it'll join you to that campus, and you can follow whichever or all campuses if you so choose. Yeah. Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Carmona. So again, if individual board members, you get to select what schools you follow, and you're welcome to follow any and all of them that work best for you. If you need help with that, just let one of our members of tech department and we'll get you all signed up, okay? All right, and then next we have our student representative. This is Diego Sandoval, who's a 10th grader at Santa Teresa High School.
Good afternoon. I'm gonna keep this short. So, some events that are going on in the school right now. We just finished winter sports. We also have cheer, which have a competition March 31st, and two of our wrestling students also won gold medals on regionals. We also have our spring sports starting, and today we just hosted the baseball and sophomore tournament. I don't know how they went though. So, and this Saturday our track team will also be having the first meet. All the sophomores also took the ASVAB test, and we finished access testing after a little bit of struggles. Science exams and the SAT are also being prepared for juniors. This year is also the first year we're starting the legacy store for graduates. So for graduates who had parents who went to STHS. And every morning announcements are made for friends and colleagues that students and teachers want to shout out just to brighten everyone's day. And that's it. A lot of good the past few weeks, and with spring break around the corner, a lot more excitement around the school.
Thank you, Superintendent Dempsey, and thank you, Student Rep. We're going to move on now to item number 4, Board Member Report. Mr. Morales?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. My report, as always, will be very short. I also was able to go to Santa Fe, and we had a really good conference up there. It was very informative. We learned more about the SCG. And I was able to talk to some of our legislators to get some more feedback on some of the stuff that will affect some of the legislation that's up that can affect this district, including the Family Leave Act and also teacher pay for level 1, 2, and 3. So it was a really good and productive meeting. The sessions were really, I think, very well organized and very well presented. And it was really, I think, a very productive conference. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary Murillo?
Good evening, everybody. I also got to attend the conference. It was a little bit different because I wasn't really able to hang out with my fellow board members. I got to hang out with my other fellow board members. And so it was different, not being able to be around you guys. But like Mr. Morales said, and there was a lot of really nice sessions, and some of those sessions you're gonna get to see what we were talking about. I was in one of them, and right away I sent Mr. Dempsey an email. I'm like, I want this in the next agenda because there's a lot of things that we share as a state, but they bring really good points, really good ideas, and so then it's just food for thought. So I really enjoyed that one. I want to thank Ms. Ward for your hospitality. Thank you for the red chili and the green chili. It was really good. I didn't get to taste the dessert, but I have a Coke, and so that's my dessert. I also attended the community meeting at Santa Teresa High School, so I want to thank the leadership team. It's a lot seeing you guys there every day, and then late hours at night. I think we left at 8:30 p.m. It was not great attended, but the people that were there I've never seen before except for one or two. So it was really nice to see a different kind of different faces, different parents, and we were talking about different topics such as parent involvement and so I really appreciate the leadership team. I appreciate Ms. Rosie Villalobos for being there and running this. So thank you so much. And I know they're going to be doing the community meetings across the district. So I encourage you guys to attend those because they were very informative. I also got to attend yesterday La Unión Spanish Spelling Bee. It was amazing because the young lady that won doesn't even speak Spanish. So it was really nice to see see the culture also in La Unión. I've been there for 6 years and I never seen ballet folclórico, and so to see that was really nice. So thank you so much, Ms. Tarazona, for being there, and I know you were part of this, and so thank you so much for continue bringing the culture back here, and making sure that we are aware of this. I want to give a special shout out. It wasn't streamed, but Ms. Villagrana created a video on the importance of being bilingual, and she captured every single school of the district. That had to take a lot of time. So Ms. Villagrana, thank you so much. That was amazing. It was long, but it was amazing, And then hearing from the students, I think they said it was like 10-minute long, right? So that was a lot of footage to like be on top of it. And then she's a teacher herself. So it was, I was amazed by that video. I don't know if there's a way that you guys can share it to the other board members, because you guys are going to be amazed by that. And with that, I conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Murillo. For my report, Ms. Ward, thank you. I appreciate you giving us a little bit of information of what you're doing within your campus, creating that healthy environment. I think it's critical, right, in order for parents and students to feel safe and welcome. So I really appreciate that. And of course, the Ballet Folclórico. Gracias por mantener esa cultura aquí en nuestro distrito, ¿verdad? Es hermoso ver cómo los niños tienen ese entusiasmo, esa emoción de participar. Se les ven sus caritas, ¿verdad? So I really appreciate continuing with the Ballet Folclórico. It's something that, it's a beautiful culture, and it's something that we embrace. We definitely do embrace that within the district, right? And we saw it with the 2 schools that are being recognized. The bilingual is something that, being bilingual is excellent, and we know that. So again, thank you for having us here, and for the great job. Way to go, Falcons. I think you're doing amazing. And the decor that we have here, because of the Lego, you mentioned that, and it's just neat. I was looking at the stage and I said, wow, I feel like I want to build something with those Legos because they look so realistic. So once again, good job, everything that you're doing. Also, we saw the students that went during legislative session. I do want to thank Mr. Morales and also Ms. Murillo for almost spearheading this, but there was a team, right? It took a lot of people to be able to provide this, and I think it definitely, one of the students mentioned, hopefully it continues, and I do believe and feel that it's something important for them. Just to be, we heard their experience, how they felt about that. So it was neat. It was long. One of the students mentioned that the trip was long. We were waiting for them. Ms. Flores and I were waiting because Ms. Murillo was busy elsewhere, right? But we were waiting for the kiddos, and we were eager to see them, right? And we were going to walk with them. We were thinking we were going to do all these things, but things changed a little bit. But it was okay because they got the opportunity to do that. So to me, it's, there's always it's a blessing in disguise. Perhaps it was their time so that they knew what it looked like instead of us being part of that. We had our opportunity on our own, and then we did see all of the different sessions that we were able to attend. And I do want to give a shout out to the team from Gadsden. They gave one of the sessions, they were part of it, and it was a group from here. And it just shows the great things that are happening in our district, right? When you are asked to present, it's because they're seeing something good. So that was was neat. We attended, even though that most of the things we might already understand or already know, but it's a good thing to hear them and see even the reaction of our fellow board members and other community members that also attend. So thank you for being a part of that. Let's see, the student rep, thank you. They take the time to be here. I had I believe he's an 8th grader today. He was telling me, he said, we had a meeting and it's long, but it was great. And again, to hear it directly from them, it's just very inspiring knowing that enjoy these things, right? And that their voice is being heard and that they're being understood. So I think that group is doing phenomenal things, and yes, they hold a standard and they're gonna push for that. And last thing, just spring break is coming up. Have fun, enjoy, be safe, and more than anything, recharge so that when we come back, that energy is ready for the students, ready to learn more, and well, as teachers, take that time to relax. So that concludes my report. Of course, Mr. Morales.
I apologize. There's two things. One, I lost my glasses in Santa Fe, so it's hard for me to read stuff. And then the second thing is I can't read my own handwriting. But I do want to acknowledge Mr. Dempsey, Ms. Villalobos, and Ms. Hernandez for the presentations that you guys gave up there. I'll tell you, of all the presentations, and they were all good, that last one that you guys ended one was the most dynamic, the best one out of all of them. And I really appreciate that. I think it really made Gadsden look in people saw it in a positive manner. And the reception that we got as a board was a lot different than at previous meetings. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Okay, now we will be moving on to item number 5, Equity Council Report. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, Ms. Terezona will present this item.
Good afternoon again. Madam President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey, I am here to report on our Equity Council. So the background and purpose of Equity Council was established in 2018 in response to the Martinez-Yasi consolidated lawsuit, with the mission of ensuring that every student in New Mexico has high quality, culturally, and responsive education. Equity councils are not decision-making or policy-making bodies. Their responsibilities include completing the Martinez-Yazdi Readiness Assessment and CLR inventory, informing the design of the education plan, and supporting the development of culturally linguistic responsive framework for districts and charter schools, providing recommendations to the district and charter school leadership as a part of an advisement package. All those items are submitted yearly to the NMPED in a SharePoint drive that we have, so we are required to submit those items yearly. Equity Council memberships are designed to reflect student, family, and the community population of the district or charter. At least 50% of the members must represent students with disabilities, Native American students, students who are English learners, economically disadvantaged students. Additional members can include school and district school leadership, school staff, and members of nation, tribes, or pueblos if serving a significant number of Native American students. In Gadsden, we have our own Equity Council district membership. Right now, we have 2 community members, one from the Chaparral area and Anthony area, district leaders that focus on English learners, students with disability, and economically disadvantaged. Parents, we have 3 parents from Yucca Heights, Desert Trail, and Alta Vista Early College. 1 parent has students in Vado and Gadsden High School. 3 parents for Verino and Desert Pride on Track. 2 parents from North Valley, and 1 from Loma Linda and Gadsden High School. This is a summary of our equity councils for this school year. So we met on September 24th at North Valley Elementary Community Center. We had a presentation on the state's seal of bilingualism and biliteracy, and we had advisement on changes to the graduation requirements. The next meeting was October 22nd at Gadsden High School Community Center. We had a presentation about what you need to know about autism and supporting your child through work chains. The next meeting was December 3rd at Santa Teresa High School Community Center. We had an advisement on the current science textbook adoption. dual language program models, also an advisement on the upcoming Parent Institute survey, and we had a presentation on Magic School Bus and Estemos Unidos. On January 14th, we met at Chaparral High School Community Center. We had advisement on the school calendar for school year 25-26 and a presentation on growth mindset, and provided the Parent Institute save the date coming up April 4th at Chaparral High School. The last meeting was February 11th at North Valley Elementary. We had a presentation asking better questions to get better answers. We had the final update of the approved calendar by the board, and we had advisement on the updated graduation requirements, and we had a presentation from Community Outreach Services, which covered every service that the POAs and Ms. Villalobos' departments offers to our community. And our upcoming meeting is going to be March 4th at Gadsden High School Community Center, and we have advisement on the budget survey, GISD communication protocols, and we also have a presentation from the Mexican consulate on immigration. And then the two last ones are just our two upcoming meetings, April 22nd and May 13th. So that's really how we've structured Equity Council yearly. If you could put the poster up. So our poster, this is our poster that we created last year for Equity Council. It was featured on the New Mexico Equity Council 2024 brief. So it was used as the example for that brief. And it's just the poster that we developed with that group, our group last year. And as you can tell, it's based on our high reliability schools, our HRS model, starting with our level 1, safe, supportive, and collaborative culture. It just includes all the things that the district does, from mental health to counseling, everything that we have to try to create a safe environment for our students, for our teachers, and for all of our staff. Layer 2, it's of our effective teaching in every classrooms. These are all our NASA, GLAD, CLAVES, name it, everything that we do, whether you're bilingual, special ed, regular ed, every program that we have to ensure that we are providing you with the best possible education. And our layer 3, guaranteed and viable curriculum, it's of course our proficiency skills, our ELD scaffold, and our ELD proficiency and our SPED proficiency skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arazona. Any questions, comments? Yes, Mr. Morales.
Our meetings are regularly scheduled at 9 a.m.?
Yes, sir. They're regularly scheduled at 9 a.m.
Anything else? I do want to make a comment. Thank you for this report. I think it's critical for parents to know, and especially knowing that there's participation throughout or from different areas of the district, right? And I think we would encourage other parents that are not currently participating, and you can see some of the schools that are not part of this to join, right? I think that's a part of what the mission is. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, we do. We actually send this information out to principal. We have struggled to get 15 people. This is the most we ever had in the 3 years I've been here. So we have struggled to get these people there at every meeting. So we're hoping to get a set amount of people. There is an area that is missing, as you can see. And maybe next year to hold some offices and kind of change the structure once we have the buy-in of the people who are coming regularly. Because we were having 5 people, 3 people, then 8, and we didn't see you again for 6 months. So it was really too hard to provide that continuum. Ms. Flores has been a member of our Equity Council for the last 3 years, and Mr. Morales is now our new member for this school year. So we're glad to have them on board. But definitely we can tweak. Again, this has to represent us and what works best for us. So how we're going to do it in Gadsden might not be how somebody else does it. But this really has to reflect how we are servicing our community. And I agree, we want to get every area involved because their advisement is crucial. That advisement is given back to the leadership team and to Mr. Dempsey.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And I think that, having this report will also allow people to understand what it's like and what the dynamic is almost. So also providing the dates now, parents and whoever wants to participate, you have the future ones or the ones that are coming. So thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Mr. Razona.
Sorry, I just have one more comment. I attended the last meeting, and I was impressed with the number of people that were there, and with the information that was provided and the communication that was going back and forth. So I look forward to attending more, and I think in a future discussion item, we should probably look as to how the school board, through the president or through its members, can help promote participation in this.
Thank you. We appreciate your support, Mr. Morales. And again, we want to keep that uniqueness and that platform that we have in that environment, because we are truly getting good, you saw it, feedback that it's real. And that's what we want. We want to keep this open to everybody, and everybody has an opportunity to speak and feel safe and really tell us how they feel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 6, Superintendent Report on Community Outreach, including to underrepresented and non-English speaking families. Superintendent.
Madam Vice President, board members, Rosie and Genevieve, I think, can help us with some information. What we've tried to provide for you is capturing today's presentation will be kind of a summary of where we've been, and then in the future it'll be every month, if you will, but you'll get a great idea, and I'm extremely proud, and I don't want to take any thunder away from what these ladies are going to share. A good significant number already at this point of outreach activities that have occurred. So,
okay. Good afternoon, Vice President. Good afternoon, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. So let me tell you what you have here. This is something that we do on a constant basis as a Title I requirement. We document every single outreach that we have to the community, and we have all the documentation, because that's something that we report all the time. That's part of the needs assessment for the Title I application. And we receive a lot from Senco. You have here of the word request for reimbursements. We receive a lot, you're going to see that all of the agendas, a lot of requests from Title I saying, send me the agenda, the flyer, the survey, everything related just to one single parent outreach. So we keep this very, very nicely organized. Ms. Melendez has been doing an amazing, fantastic job. Let me move, I'm going to move a little bit and show you something. That little link. Thank you, Mr. Morales. You all have access to that little link. I don't want to open in public because there's a violation of privacy. So this is private information because we have parents' telephone numbers, emails, so it cannot be shared publicly. So that's why this doesn't have, but you have access, you can see it. And when you see it, you're gonna see everything has the agenda, the flyer, the sign-ins, so you can see all the participation. What we did here, we created a little summary of all the outreach that we have by school and by month. And that's what you have on the first tab. If you go to the second tab, in every single thing that we do, we have surveys on everything for the parents. And that's how we keep changing and evolving on what we do and we try to bring to the parents. And you have access to that information. You can see all that, all the surveys that we have done already this year, where we are and all that. What we're gonna do is we keep always updating this constantly. The POAs are the first feeders of this. Ms. Melendez supervises the whole thing, ensuring that we have all the documentation, because we need to have very detailed orientation as a requirement of Title I. So we have doing this for years. We do it electronically so that we can have a really good log on everything, but you can see where we are and kind of like the parents are telling us and everything. So if you want to take a look later, that will be great, because we don't want to open it up here. Thank you, Mr. Morales.
Thank you, Ms. Villalobos. Did you have any? No. Okay, any questions, comments?
Rosie, Mr. Carmona, can you get back onto that first, the first tab? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think is it 384? I don't know if I can see that correctly. Total Is that our total number right now?
Yes, and February is not even there yet.
346. So
Yeah, and February is not there.
February is not included. So I want the board to understand there's been 346 different events as parent outreach and community outreach already this year. So just keep that in mind as we're moving. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So any
questions?
comments or questions? I will make a comment.
Yes.
I think that the work that is being done at the community centers is phenomenal. I know that we would like more participation. So parents, please, community members, this building is for us.
It's for the parents.
And it's great to see, you have the ones that are the regulars, and then you have people that have not been there and see the benefit of those locations. And so all the paperwork, it is a whole lot, but it pays off, right? Seeing the benefit that our community gets out of this. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Janice. Melendez has everything like amazingly organized. So we have everything documented. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, now item number 7, Union President report to board. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, I believe we have our union president here with us.
Good evening, Vice President Rodriguez, right? Okay. Members of the board, Mr. Dempsey. Well, what can I say? How can I start? Well, we're still trying to build a community with the district. We're still trying to let employees know what their rights are. We're still trying to, make sure that every student that comes to school gets an education and that their teachers are there, their instructional assistants are there, the clerical staff is there, because whenever somebody gets pulled out, doesn't matter who it is, what their job is, it's essential to that child. So, I hate to say this, but I do work well with Estrella over there. and so we're trying, and I know I'm trying, to keep people at their jobs, And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what we all want. Do we have problems? Yes, we do have problems. Do we have concerns? Yes, we do have concerns. But we try to move forward every day. So, you have anything for me? I can,
Any questions, comments?
No?
Oh.
Well, I thank you.
I do.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, just very briefly, you mentioned you work with Estrella. So for those that don't know, Estrella is a part of the HR. And I think it is important, right, to work hand in hand, because the ultimate goal here is to make things better for our district in general. So that is a good thing. That's a positive thing. And whatever, if something's not working, then communication is the key of everything, right, in order to make things successful.
Yeah, and like I say, a lot of times we do disagree because that's what we do. We're going to disagree. But at the end of the day, like I said, if we can keep the employees at their work site, everybody wins at the end of the day. Okay, so that's what we try to do, and I see, they try that too. It's not always easy. Don't get me wrong. But we try, and that's, I can assure you that I do. I try very. So, but, and we're moving on to negotiations right now. We're working with salaries. I think it's moving along. Again, some of our members are going to trainings for, how to represent employees. We're always recruiting new members. We're always trying to get representatives at the school sites. It's not easy because there's that fear that if I lose my job, who's going to provide for my family? So it's not easy, So a lot of times, people will call and say, well, isn't there a representative at my school? Well, no, there isn't, because I can't force anybody to do something that they might feel that would interfere with their job, with their livelihood. So a lot of the times I'm the one that ends up, representing the employees. So, but there are some out there that do help me, and I appreciate it. I thank them for that. But, we're trying to move forward, trying to keep a positive outlook on this, and hopefully the legislation will come back and give us a raise, a decent raise, and help out with the insurance, because I know a lot of employees struggle with insurance. That's a big part of, the benefits that we have, but it's still pricey at the end of the day. So.
Very well. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 8. This is the Human Resources Report. That is there for public knowledge. No action is required on behalf of the board. So now moving on to item 9, modification of agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the agenda as is.
Ms. Murillo has made a motion to accept the agenda as is. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 10A. These are the school board, special school board minutes and the regular school board minutes. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we accept item 10A and 10B, special board minutes for January 27th and regular school board minutes for February 6th.
Thank you. Ms. Murillo has made a motion to accept the agendas as they are. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And now moving on to item 11, consent agenda. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns?
Madam Vice President,
Yes, sir.
I would like to bring to attention the items C, D, and E. These are very specific items that are moving funds that were originally allocated for employee benefits. When we originally built our budget, we were told to plan for about a 17% increase. After the budget was approved, that was reduced by a special state allocation, leaving some dollars available that wouldn't be utilized. After getting New Mexico Public Education's results of our annual testing and having no schools in designation, we felt like this is a great opportunity to recognize our students and our staff. So these items represent dollars being moved for two purposes. One, special allocation to each campus that they can decide to do some type of student recognition on their campus. And then two, a one-time stipend to each employee in the district of approximately $1,300 before taxes.
Thank you. Thank you for noting that. I just want to make a comment that very well deserved. Definitely having those, the state recognizes that the district is doing great things, and being able to provide, going back to the campuses, and then of course, the staff definitely deserve that. So thank you for that.
Madam Vice President, and I need to add, this is unique. And it takes a tremendous, Ms. Martinez and Ms. Villarreal are here, and I probably at many levels stress them out quite a bit, and I apologize for that. I really appreciate their work and effort, and their attitude is always, what can we do to support learning? And if we can stay in that space, I think that's a great model for everything we do.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for the consent agenda, to accept the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Ms. Murillo has made a motion to accept the consent agenda as is. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, everyone. And once again, very well deserved. Now moving to item 12, open forum. Ms. Delgado, do we have anyone?
Madam Vice President, we have none.
Thank you. So now we move on to item 13. This is action items. We have two. 13A, the NMSBA Excellence in Student Achievement Award. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, so this is that annual award from the New Mexico School Boards Association. We had a discussion on this last go around, and then individual employees from different job categories were able to nominate individuals they work with, and then last year's winners were invited in to review the applicants or the nominations. We did as requested, we did a blind, if you will, review, meaning all names were removed, redacted, and then the different submissions were numbered so that we knew number 3 equaled this person, but the individuals reviewing it didn't know the person. And we went through that process. Ms. Delgado was instrumental in getting that done, and we now have 2 support staff members, a teacher and an administrator who have been selected by that committee. We would like to keep that anonymous at this point so we can recognize them.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? No? All right, well, thank you for that. So now it's an action item, and we need to vote on it. Do I hear a motion? All right, I'll make a motion to accept action item 13A, the NMSBA Excellence in Student Achievement Award. So I have made a motion to accept it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to action item 13B, the GISD Communications Protocol. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, we wanted to create an opportunity here to make sure we're engaging everybody in our community. And one thing we didn't have really in place was a communications protocol. Mr. Carmona and I worked together to try to create this. We're not sure that we've honestly hit exactly the points that you would want to, but I did set it up as an action item, knowing that if you need to review even at a later time we make adjustments, we're fine with that. But this gives us a great starting point to utilize all aspects of our communication to enhance our district and really get the good messages out that we want out. I don't know if you have any specific questions about it, but I did put it as an action item so that we can proceed with the board understanding we can still make adjustments. Just bring those back to me and then we can have some conversations about it.
Excellent. Any questions, comments? Yes, Ms. Maria, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment. I want to thank Mr. Carmona for the emails, for the text messages. Even though sometimes I do read at the email and there's no RSVP, that we have to actually RSVP with you directly. But I really appreciate that. And then having the link to add it to your calendar makes it much easier, because now my calendar is full. And thanks to you, I attended those 2 events this week. So thank you so much for that, Mr. Carmona.
Thank you for that comment, and I do want to piggyback on that. We have seen all the many things that are happening, so I appreciate. And of course, there could be things that could change, as mentioned right now. Maybe the RSVP, making sure that it's there instead of having to call directly. So that's something that could be added. But other than that, I'm in agreement. There's a whole lot of things happening, and it keeps us informed of. And we try as much as we can to participate. So thank you for that. Now it's an action item, and I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Morales.
That's okay. I'd like to thank Mr. Carmona too for following up with me to making sure that I am receiving the messages. I really appreciate that, and it was really nice to say yes, I am. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Do I hear a motion for action item 13B, GISD Communication Protocol?
I make a motion to accept action 13B, GISD Communications Protocol.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Mr. Morales has made a motion to accept action item 13B. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And now we move on to our discussion items. 14A, Board Budget Workshop and Budget calendar. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, Ms. Martinez is going to help us with this item.
Good evening, Vice President Rodriguez, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. This evening, I bring to you for discussion the budget calendar and the proposal for 2 budget workshops. One of them would be on March 12th, and in that workshop, we would review budget fundamentals, and then the next workshop would be scheduled for March 21st. No, hold on. Did I say that right? March 21st, we would go over the budget and review fundamentals, and then May 12th would be a review of our preliminary budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. These dates are tentative because we don't have our due date. We don't know when our budget is due. Typically, it's the 3rd week in May, and I'm hoping they'll schedule us around that time. It would be subject to change if they came back and scheduled our budget due earlier. Then I would have to kind of cram some of the schedule. But questions, comments?
Any questions, comments? Go ahead, Mr. Morales.
I do. So to understand the delay in that is mostly due to the bill being passed by the legislature and being signed by the governor and allowing for the budget. So that causes a delay in us, right?
I'm sorry, was that a question?
Yeah,
Or-
I think
okay.
Mr. Dempsey's going to.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Madam Vice President, board members, absolutely. And so what we don't know right now, I mean, we can track the budget. We know it's past the House side, it's headed to the Senate. I will share that there was some very unexpected news or a comment made. Typically, the Senate Finance is kind of the group that does all the carving of the budget. And there was a comment made from their chair that said, I don't think there's enough money in it. I've never heard that from the Senate Finance in my entire career. So I think I'm very optimistic that what we have but the current bill is good, and it may even get better. But what we don't understand is, will the governor, if they include averaging language, our current governor has not ever liked that language. She could, and she has in the past, lined item that out. That changes how we approach the budget. So those are the details we don't know yet, and it does take a little bit of time. Any years that we have a long session, we're pushed pretty hard in that time frame.
Mr. Dempsey, can you remind me of the HB number? Is that HB 2?
House Bill 2 is always the one that carries it. And I believe it should be Senate Ed or Senate Finance probably next week.
Thank you. And I think that, just keeping that as tentative, fellow board members, knowing that there's a possibility that it could change, but at this point, that's what it's looking like. Correct?
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Murillo has. Go ahead.
So I was looking at this, and I wanted to see, because I know for March 21st is for us, I look at the calendar and I wanted to see if there was any way, because I won't be here, I will be out of town on March 21st. I don't know if you guys were okay to move the date, either that Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and if that works for you guys. I mean, I don't have to be there, but I would like to be there. So I'm just throwing it out there to see if you guys don't mind. And then, Mr. Dempsey, because Mr. Morales is our newest board member, I just wanted to see the April 9th through the 11th. That's the one that we go to Albuquerque, right? That you guys go to Albuquerque, and sometimes it's open for some of the board members to attend. I think Ms. Rodriguez attended to one, and I attended one like 3 years ago. So just so you know, right?
Madam Vice President, board members, those dates are called what we call spring budget, and that's done by the New Mexico Association of School Business Officials. Some years, that's the time we get our unit value and really some sound numbers. This year, I'm not sure we'll have it at that point, but you're always welcome to attend. There's tons of breakout sessions that give you specific information around school budgets, and it's probably a great time to gather some information. If you're interested, please let us know ASAP so that we can start working on those travel arrangements.
And I think that with the comment that Ms. Murillo said about the change. Though we have two board members missing, I think we'll just be in contact with you and see what it looks like. I think that would be the most appropriate thing at this point.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to discussion item 14B, board work session scheduling a date and topics, bonds, cash, balance. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, there had been some conversation around a workshop associate or specific around budget, and two of these items were mentioned at one point. I don't know if there's additional items, and I also would ask for a potential date. I don't know if we want to do this in an evening. I don't know if we want to do a work session in a Saturday. I'm not sure how the board wants to proceed there. But as I have contacted somebody who's very willing to come in and provide that, and so I just need to get some dates together and make sure that I've hit the topics that you're interested in. We do have, by the way, a bond election coming up in November.
Any questions, comments? Mr. Morales.
Yes, what was that last comment that you made? We do have what?
We have a bond election coming up this November.
Okay, I would think, I know that, like, personally for me, this semester for me is like very, very busy, so I'd have to really look at my calendar with a lot of traveling and stuff. So I would want to bring this up at the next meeting when the other board members are there, and maybe, I'm not sure how, but we could get this information to them so that everybody could look at their calendars and kind of like figure out a date that would be most effective.
Madam Vice President, board members, what I could do is include it in my update and start shooting me dates that either work or don't work. Either way, if you know you're going to be out of town, say stay away from these dates. And again, I don't know if the board's interested in a Saturday or an evening. I think this could probably get knocked out in about a 3 or 4 hour period. So I don't know what works best for everybody.
Right now, I would prefer a Saturday. In the morning, you know.
Okay.
Okay, so since it's a discussion item, I think sending that information to you would be great. I do want to make I have a question. You have specific here, or it says date and topics, and then it specifically talks about bonds, cash, and balance. Would that be any other work sessions, or is it, at this point, we're just going to focus on those?
Madam Vice President, those are just two topics that I've heard that come from the body of the board here. We could focus on anything the board feels like they need additional information on. Some of the budget workshops, as they come up in the spring, you'll hear certain topics come up as well. Cash balance is always a part of the budgeting conversation. Bonds are not always, but we need to be prepared for what is headed our way in November. But if you have anyone that has other topics, I just want to make sure I hit those topics and they're included in the presentation. And it was a very specific request to kind of bring somebody in from the outside, and I have somebody identified who's ready to do that.
Okay, excellent. The reason I was asking is because I know that through CES, they have offered different trainings, or not trainings, but perhaps workshops. And I know that also POMS, I know to one of the conferences that we went, they referred, that they have different workshops that they can offer for free. So I think that looking into that and seeing what different opportunities are out there, and especially if they can provide them without any charge, that's something to think about too.
Absolutely.
Yes, Ms. Moody.
Do we have a deadline that it will be like, let's have it by June or July? Like, do you have a deadline in mind?
Secretary Video, it's really what works best for everybody. I think at the end of the day, the more board members we can have available to make it meaningful for the whole group. If we're all learning together, I think that gives us an opportunity to really grow. If there's only a few that can participate, so I'm probably more concerned. The time frame doesn't necessarily worry me. I'd like to pick a date that we can get, if we can, the entire board, so we're all learning together and have understanding together.
Okay. For me as well, Saturdays will work better in the mornings, and I think we had workshops in the past on Saturdays, and we've seen a pretty good attendance on the board. I mean, I'm not going to speak for the others because they're not here, but I think this is the perfect timing to be talking about this specific topic because of the issues that we've been seeing with other districts and around the communities, and I think for transparency and for the community to know that we're in a good place. I think this is like perfect timing, but I can send you in an email like all the days that I'm not gonna be here, but Saturdays for the most part are gonna be okay for me too. That way you can have an idea that at least you have 2 board members that we're open to that.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you. Now we will move on to discussion item 14C, the GISD policy BED-B, Agenda Finance Committee change request. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, this was a request that came from the board. There was a conversation associated with the possibility, let me back up a little bit. We have a current policy about our agenda. Can we click on that current policy just so we can look at it? What it's going to give you is a kind of a template for an agenda, and it's very specific. So I want you to have that in your mind a little bit. Based on what we've established now, we already need to make some adjustments to it. So that just gives you a little idea of what's in policy. If you go back to that slide, the request was, could we set things up to where the entire board is the finance committee? And so I don't know how the board feels about that. That was a request from the board, from a board member. The way I've seen some districts do that, and not all do it, I would say probably the larger districts do something like that. The smaller districts really probably don't. But it's like they pick a day during the week usually, and they say at 10 o'clock on this day, once a month, we're going to have a finance committee meeting. The reason why it's important, if we're going to have the entire board, I have to work with Ms. Delgado, and we got to get a notice out, and we have to have that agenda available. So that's how some districts of our size handle that finance committee. But it is the entire board. It's more of a workshop type setting, but I have to advertise that, 10 days out, and it has to have some level of an agenda to it. Another option could be, and I've seen, I think I've seen this done. I don't remember which district does it this way, but they take their current meetings, and their current meetings, let's say, begin at 5. At 4 o'clock, they have a finance committee meeting on the same, or it didn't have to be every board meeting, but some board meetings, they have a finance committee meeting. And again, I would just have to advertise it as such. It gives you about 45 minutes if you did it that way to review the finances, and then you would stop probably at 4:45, giving you 15 minutes to prepare for the rest of the meeting. So I don't know what the board's thoughts are or how they feel.
Go ahead, Ms. Murillo.
So I brought this up because while I was up in Santa Fe in conversations, now that I'm with an MSBI, it was very interesting that now I have these conversations, and they're coming up. What are you doing? What's working out in your district? And we're comparing. So this came up. Two of our 2 districts were telling me that they do this. One of them, they do it an hour before at 4 p.m. and then another one they meet on a random day. But I do want to read because I asked a specific board member to please send it to me in a text. And she's right. She said we have all members in the finance committee. I like it more than the 2 members. I haven't heard of others other than that other district. But it does require a culture of participation to be successful. So the reason that I brought this up is because I do think that it's important that we all hear the same information. Ms. Rodriguez sits in the committee with me, and yeah, I mean, it is a lot of information, and I'm one of learning that you have to really explain it to me, and Ms. Ludim, you guys do an amazing job at explaining because I actually understand, and I can go back home and then I read some stuff, and then I have to reach out to other people that I know and be like, can you explain this to me? And so I do think that I think it's important that all of us sit in this committee, if you guys are okay with that. And I know it's just a discussion item, but it's something that I would like to bring as an action item in the future. And so I just wanted to bring it up to your attention, so you guys can start thinking about it. But it is true, like it's not gonna matter if only 2 of us show up, and so I think for if we start thinking maybe like Mr. Dempsey said, once a month, but once a month, an hour before our board meetings, we can we can actually schedule it that way so we can all have some time to accommodate in our schedules. I think it can work out. But I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
Any comment, Mr. Morales?
Yes. Who is currently on the finance committee? Just you two. So there's only 2 people on that committee. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, so that is a good question. I think that it is a great opportunity, but we do need to understand and be committed, right, as a board, that if we do decide that it's going to be everyone, we need to be a part of this, because right now that's what is established, that there be 2 committee or 2 board members per committee. But if we're going to change this one, again, it's not just saying we're going to change it and just for the sake of changing it, but really participating. So I would, if we decide, I would definitely, would like Ms. Flores and Mr. Lira to be on board with it, and knowing that if we change it, let's be there, let's be present.
And just one more comment. I think, because you're right, we have only 2 board members in every committee, but the reason that I think that it's so important to have everybody in the finance is because we deal with the budget, right? So I think yes, we receive, all of us, we all receive the packets, but do we really fully understand? Because I can tell you, this is my 4th year on the board, and I don't understand at all. Like, I have to ask questions. And so if I can have your guys' guidance, and when we make decisions, I mean, it is a big decision that we're making publicly. So that's the reasoning that I'm thinking about this specific committee. I'm not saying with the equity council, like I'm talking specifically with finance because we deal with the budget.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I definitely agree. It is a great opportunity. So because it is critical and it is something that we have to deal with. But again, once we commit to it, let's do it, right? Let's take advantage of this opportunity if we do decide that we want all board members to be a part of it. So, any other questions, comments? No? Okay.
Madam Vice President,
Yes,
what
sir.
I might ask of the board, I think there's a great opportunity here, but you make a valid point, because it does take quite a bit of work to prep for these, okay? And so if the board chooses to go there, one, I'm going to need a couple months to work out the notices and work with Ms. Delgado, and we'll have to get through this policy a little bit to make those adjustments. What I think I heard was the recommendation, and so just so I work this out in my mind, would be an hour before the current meeting, right? Once a month. So not both meetings, once a month. And then here's what I would ask from the board. Let's maybe do it on a trial basis for 6 months. If only 2 members show up, then I would have to ask, are we really doing this? Should we just go back? Now, if we really do have 3 members, we have to advertise it, and that will show a level of commitment. So I just ask the board to consider that as you're thinking about it.
Thank you. All right, now we move on to discussion item 14D, the GISD Strategic Plan Review. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, Ms. Hernandez is going to get us started, and then a whole bunch of our leadership team members are going to give you some information about their individual department.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey. I'm coming before you because there was a request about our strategic plan. So the strategic plan that we will be working with right now is we just completed a 3-year plan that we had. Currently, we're working with CES to support us in the new plan that will be for the 25. He's talking about 6 years, so we're going to work with him on some of those pieces because a lot of things happen in 6 years. So I just want to give some background information because not all board members were on board the first time we did the strategic plan. The way it works is we had 3 community meetings. CES, Mr. Chavez, if you know Mr. David Chavez, he led that piece in our communities. So we had a meeting in Chaparral, a meeting in Gadsden, and then a meeting in Santa Teresa High School, which included parents, students, community members. Gadsden High School, for example, had all of our farming community. Santa Teresa had a lot of teachers, a lot of students, and of course, parents. And so the way the routine worked, and you kind of have seen it already, we take all this information, questions, they do some focus groups, and the parents in those groups decide what is most important. Now, I think I need to say that our first round came right out of the COVID pandemic. So what we thought was going to be a high priority for parents was technology, and it wasn't, because at the time we had given everybody hotspots and Chromebooks. Do you remember that? So that did not come up at all. So we were very surprised. So what the company, what CES does is they rank everything for us, and then that's how we determined and how we developed the strategic plan. I know you had a chance, if you had a chance to look at it, it is 27 pages long, right? So we had 5 areas that we divided everything into. I don't know who left their glasses here, but thank you. Because these are yours, Mr. Morales. Mr. Morales and I were looking for his glasses in Santa Fe. It was a very interesting, right, Mr. Morales? I was going to say, maybe these are yours. So what ended up happening, what ended up happening is once everything was ranked, we developed as a leadership team with the board. If you recall, we had a Saturday session with Mr. Chavez, and I believe it was Teresa who helped us. I forgot her last name, but she helped us. And we came up with the new vision and the new mission. If you recall that, we went into groups and all that. So we ended up breaking up into 5 goals. One was to develop and create exemplary learning environments through different modes of instruction. Our parents at the time really lifted up pre-K and CTE, which we thought was kind of interesting, right? And so we took that and ran with that. The second goal we developed was providing equitable opportunities for every child. Goal number 3 became to foster systems that support culture of readiness. Goal number 4 was to adequately staff the district with highly qualified personnel that provided rigorous instruction and support. And then to provide a safe and secure school environments was our 5th goal. On the plan itself, you'll see that we've identified them by green, by yellow, or by red. So green means that we either have completed it, yellow means that it's in progress, and red means that we either killed the plan completely or developed another area after we collected data. You will also see that there are some like ending dates like 2022 and 2023, but that's just because we were ending like the implementation, but we're still moving with it. So don't let those numbers fool you, right? So for example, in the first strategic goal, we talked about building layer 1 structures and meeting the needs of all students through the implementation of MLSS. At the time, we had a director for student success, but as we reviewed data and noticed what pieces were missing on campuses, got feedback from principals and teachers, we dissolved that position and created a testing coordinator and a MLSS coordinator. And so I'm going to bring up some of the directors and coordinators because we all had a big piece in this. This was really literally hundreds of hours of work because we sit, we revise, meeting after meeting, looking at data, coming back. We presented to the board, we do updates. We're gonna do better with the next strategic plan. I think we'll try to do it every couple of months when the data comes out for students, like maybe every time we assess. And so in this particular area, you'll see that we literally identified every area that we thought needed support. Okay, and we won't read every single thing. We'll try to generalize the pieces, but if you have any questions or concerns that you would like for us to look at, we know that some of these pieces will need to go into the new strategic plan because there's a strategic plan is always a working document, right? And our goal is to continue to increase student achievement. And there's links on it for you to see if there's anything you want to know. I will also, I know that we are now sending out some invites. I'd really like to invite you to maybe one of our data meetings, if you're able to attend. They're usually in the mornings, Mr. Morales. There's several that we have all the time. I meet with my team once a week, and we're seeing some good things happening. We're very excited about what's coming in the future. And so every decision that we make is always student-focused. We do sometimes get into some good heated conversations, and in the end we have to decide what does it benefit the kids. Right. And so Ms. Gaona, I thought I saw Ms. Adriana Gaona. So we'll just go through it briefly with you. Anything in red, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. There's a lot of information here. So if at any time later you want me to call one of us or myself, I'll be happy to walk you through some of those pieces or explain, or if you need anything, okay? Just kind of what you're going through. And I'll sit here for any.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to present our plans. This actually took into effect the year 2021, and it ran through 2024. Like Ms. Hernandez mentioned, we were looking at our strategic goal number 1, develop and create exemplary learning environments through different modes of instruction and evaluation. Our priority, as it states there for number 1, is to build at layer 1 structures that met the needs of all students through the implementation of MLSS. So the steps to accomplish this priority, like we see in 1.1, is to identify and establish core strategies for universal support of layer 1 instruction and provide PD on those high-yield instructional strategies that are going to allow us to effectively meet the needs of all students. We've identified 1.1 and 1.2 of our strategic plan in green, stating that those have been accomplished and set forth by evidence of completion, which was in effect June of 2024 of last year. And then we have something in place to justify that through the evaluation column, where it states that we had evidence that this had been accomplished and being seen as successful by that column of evaluation where it states 1.1, we have evidence-based practices. We had walkthroughs with our teams, our district leadership teams, to make sure that the teachers felt the support as we began this phase of implementation of MLSS, as well as completing critical concepts. We made sure that we knew which priority skills we're going to focus on, as we do have many standards, and we really wanted to make sure that our teachers had that opportunity to be part of that process, and therefore we also came up with making sure that these standards, which are now our proficiency scales within our classrooms, have the opportunity to be assessed as well through those CFAs, data performance. And Data Performance Matters is our platform where we upload our assessments, and so that's in yellow. As you can see in column 1, 1.3 and 1.5, those are in yellow simply because we're still developing those common assessments with our teachers, and that's been taking more time just because we want to make sure that they effectively reflect the learning that the students are going to master through those proficiency skills. But we want to build the capacity by teaching our teachers how to look at that proficiency scale, and then from there derive the actual common assessments that are going to reflect the data that the students are taking ownership of through the student data trackers. So that's why we have on the completion date, the 1.2 and 1.3 at that fourth column, highlighted in green, showing that link where it takes you to all the professional development that has actually allowed this to come forth and make it successful. And then we have those critical concepts as well in 1.3. What that is basically it's allowing us to dig deeper into where our students are in proficiency for each academic subject. And therefore, it allows the teachers to identify how to group students in that layer 1 instruction with differentiated instruction based on skills that the students haven't quite mastered yet. So really from that strategic priority, looking at building those layer structures for MLSS implementation at layer 1, we really have a lot of the initiatives already set in place that are highlighted in green, and we are ongoing with the yellow ones, simply because, again, the common assessments take time to develop so that they're really effective, reflecting the learning that the students want to master. And again, they themselves are tracking the progress, so that's even better. Hopefully next time we're able to bring videos. We've taken footage of students in our district taking ownership of the learning. And it's so beautiful to see how they just are confident and really have set goals for themselves as to where they want to head next. And you could see the joy. You could see how proud they are of their learning. And so again, the responsible parties are there on that last column. And like Ms. Hernandez mentioned, the MLS's coordinator position was staffed September 2023. That's when I came on board. It's a pleasure to meet you all. And I look forward to continuing working on this position, driving us forward. Thank you. Thank you.
And so she went through a couple of those pages for us. There's a lot of information on there. If I could please have, if we could move it to page, what page is it? I believe it's page 5, Mr. Carmona or Mr. Snody, where it says defining expectations. So one of the goals in this area is also to define expectations and responsibilities for school support, family expectations, and community schools. And so I'm going to ask, I think Ms. Villalobos had to step out, but if you see, a lot of this is ongoing, and you've already also, federal programs ended up taking this piece. Some of the pieces were to prioritize the school culture and climate factors. We're really working on this piece in regards to the HRS levels, right? The first layer is building a safe and collaborative culture on campuses, and we're really working on that piece. We also, as you're aware, we want to strengthen the individual school parent outreach programs, and Ms. Villalobos and her team has also already presented that piece. We've developed the community centers. We have a lot of meetings with parents. There's a lot of classes going on, and so that's why these are also in green. We also want to prioritize extracurricular activities that will build positive school perceptions, right? And working with NMSU and really becoming collaborative teams with them, we're really seeing great success in many of the after-school programs. We're in fact getting ready to work with the campuses in Sunland Park area to develop some intramural sports. We're going to pilot that there. That community has reached out to us, and so we want to do that piece. The next piece is to make sure that our literacy framework is established, and one of those pieces is determined by the state. We just follow the framework, but we also like to expand on what's required by the state. That's why our students are doing so well. We're very proud of the fact that we continue to have no schools in designation, and the data continues to move, right? And so hopefully next year, if they don't change if you recall Ms. Zulema de la Rosa, our testing coordinator, if they don't change the formula, we'll be okay, right? If we could just go down, establish the pathways for STEM through pre-K to 12. And so I'm going to have Mr. Wolgamith talk about that briefly as well. And you'll see a lot of red there. We're on page 7. And he'll explain some of those pieces and where we are. And I do want to just remind everybody that this went right after COVID, so there's a lot of pieces that we did not continue with.
Madam President, members, Vice President, real briefly here, if you're looking on number 7, we know that STEM opportunities were really important for our families in the survey, so we wanted to make sure we worked on building those pre-K-12. In the high schools and middle schools, we're using PLTW to support our STEM. We initially were working on a partnership with elementary on the PLTW to do a pre-K-12. However, with such great success with the Legos related to STEM in our pre-K through sixth grade, we really shifted towards using Lego to support those. We wanted to make sure that all of our schools, all of our comprehensive schools, as well as supporting Alta Vista and DPA, had computer science, biomedical engineering, and computer science, biomedical, and engineering pathways. And so those have been expanded. You can find those on all the comprehensive campuses, and you can find computer science at Desert Pride as well as health science. Number 8, we had a lot of conversation right out of COVID about establishing a virtual academy here in our district, where we were going to use Edmentum as the platform. We were going to have our own teachers sort of teaching virtually to our kids. As Ms. Hernandez said, we realized that was an idea after COVID because we're coming right out of it. But then we quickly realized that the benefit was to have kids here in school. So we did kind of cancel that full virtual school idea. However, we continue to maximize our partnership with Edmentum. And so students via 504 or particular needs can take a full-time online classes through Edmentum, supported by Edmentum teachers, typically at Desert Pride, focused mainly on the secondary. So we do still have that element of it. However, we canceled the bulk of the full virtual school. Okay, Ms. Hernandez, I'm gonna need these glasses too, double glasses.
Are there any questions on that? That was our strategic goal number 1. And that was that piece in regards to, I have so many projects going at once, sorry. To develop and create exemplary learning environments for our students through the different modes of instruction. Okay? No questions? Okay. So our goal number 2 was to provide equitable opportunities for every child. As you're aware, the Martinez-Yazzie lawsuit is part of our district is named in that lawsuit, and that's from very many years ago. And so it's very important that we as a district continue to work to improve that need for our students. So Ms. Tarazona will talk about the alternative language programs.
And I have like 12 goals, so I'm going to try to make this comprehensible. The first goal is our most important goal, provide alternative language programs based on the EL identifications. When we get students, they fill out a LUS form, and that's how we identify the students that are eligible for bilingual program. They take 2 assessments, the WIDA screener and the WIDA Munoz. We test every year about 400 new pre-Ks that move into the kinder, and then we determine eligibility. So this is really the life of our dual language program. So that's always ongoing because that happens every year. We did a Spanish structured literacy for K2 in our dual language program. We noticed that we were missing a phonemic block. So they were only getting phonics and one language depending on the day or the week, how they switched. That was a huge problem for language acquisition. So that has been completed and we have fixed that. Any new teachers we train, but most of our teachers are already trained. So our next goal would be to align our 3rd through 6th. K6 teachers have provided language acquisition PD, so that's our, and I'm glad. I actually have four of my specialists right now are finishing their GLAD training. So then I don't pay for trainers anymore. They become trainers, and then I can do the trainers here. So that's obviously to save cost. Our other big initiative is our WIDA ELD standards, and that's how do we modify your scaffolds so you understand or the teacher understands what you are able to produce at your WIDA level. Reviewer 1, I cannot ask you to write a 5-page paragraph. So for teachers to be conscious of that, we've been doing that PD right now. So that is probably our biggest ones. The other one we are starting is our Kagan PD. We are excited about this PD, page 12. Kagan is really all about engagement and strategies. And we're started actually with a secondary, and we took a team up. So we are hoping to get teachers or some of our coaches Kagan certified because we really see the engagement. We actually observed a teacher from Gadsden High School that went to the Kagan workshop. He was using the strategies, and that's what else need, comprehensible input, engagement, and really any kid can benefit from that. I think the only one we killed was the providing teachers vocabulary support. That was a three module with Latin root suffixes, and prefixes. I think we'll be okay without that. But those are our most important ones.
Any questions for Ms. Tarazona on the bilingual piece?
Just a comment. Thank you so much, because a lot of people, they think, oh, we don't have a dual language in any of our schools. We do. They just don't know. So when they see this meeting, they'll get to see that all the things that they're ongoing, right? And so it's really hard for us to explain, and then we'd send them to you. Like I've sent you a couple of parents to you, right? And then moving them to schools, but they don't understand that they're unaware.
And that's due to our marketing, Ms. Murillo, and we're really working on that. All those videos that you saw for Villagrana, there's a purpose to those videos. So it's really the marketing that we haven't done very well. So we're continuing to improve in that.
Yes, I think that, Madam Vice President, members of the board, I think Mr. Morales had a good comment about like how can the board support like the Equity Council, but also as a team, we're really looking at how do we market more of the programs, right? We've been meeting, you saw in our community meeting as well, like we have a perception of what's happening and our parents are like, you have that, and we're here, we have this, we have that. And so, yes, thank you for that. So the next piece is, like Ms. Tarazona was finishing up regarding providing a lot of PD. Our EL teachers, our EL students are getting teachers who are very well trained. On the next piece, I don't know why it's not moving. Okay. If we could please go to page 15, that's where we ended up. We're talking about some of the special education pieces. As you recall, we have restructured our special education program. So I'd like to have Ms. Angelica Rodriguez, our Associate Superintendent for Special Education, just kind of talk about where we are in these areas. A lot of it is ongoing because we are doing a lot of the training, but Ms. Rodriguez. And it's touch base.
Vice President Rodriguez, members of the board, Mr. Dempsey. As you see we've got two key issues here. One is identify, locate, evaluate students. That's our child find responsibility. We can't stop it. That is our charge. Once we identify our students, then basically we need to provide them with those special education services. So the two items that are on our strategic plan that were in the past were to identify, track, make sure we're evaluating our students. And then if you look at the next one, that really is a lot of staff development. What we are continuing to do, we did find some documentation indicating, especially with the evaluations, that's been ongoing monitoring as we get those referrals in. Our teams are meeting with the ECI, our ECI partners, our pre-kinder partners, so we could identify our students. But on the second part, with the PD in these areas, we've taken that and we've continued that as well. Of course, the people who are responsible are a little bit different. Our three directors, we have our Director of Ancillary Services. She's been tracking the related services, ancillary services that our staff is providing. Our Director of Compliance is making sure we're getting those evaluations done. And our Director of Curriculum and Instruction and Homebound is going out into the campuses, making sure that we're providing those services to our students. Obviously all that continues because that is our charge. So like I said, for our next rollout, the only thing that might be changing a little bit is the people responsible, because now we've got a couple of other names in there, so we'll be able to continue to provide those services for our students.
Go ahead, Ms. Moody.
I have a question for the professional development, because I know that you guys had the Barzano coming to Chaparral, and a couple of teachers did call and they said it was an amazing training, but I don't feel like it really applied to me as a SPED teacher. What kind of training are you guys doing for SPED? Are you guys doing anything specifically for SPED?
Ms. Murillo, actually, Marzano does apply. And that's one of the things that me and the team have been looking at. Anything that applies to our students in general ed applies to our students with disabilities. It shouldn't be any different. So those fantastic teaching practices, those NASOT strategies, all of that should align. Even when we're looking at I always forget the term, proficiency scales. When you look at the proficiency scales, why aren't we holding our students to those scales as well? It's the curriculum. It's what we should be doing. But one of the things that we're enhancing on that is that differentiated instruction. That's going to be coming up on our plan for the upcoming strategic plan. How do we differentiate to meet the needs of our students who have significant disabilities? And how do we differentiate for our students who are gifted? So that's coming set. And when we start planning and preparing those trainings, We really want to address that training with our general ed teachers and our special education teachers. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
No, I don't
Thank
think so.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and so what the next piece that we have is, sorry, related services. She went through all this. One of the other pieces here is to make assure that the students have their support for their social emotional piece, and Ms. Federal Programs takes care of this piece. And so our SEL coordinator, we have a lead counselor, and we have mental health therapist in the district. And as you can see, these are some of those programs that we have already implemented. I was trying to see if I had one of the, yes, there's Ms. Forty. I apologize, Ms. Forty. I knew I saw you. Ms. Forty is our lead counselor, and she also supports the mental health therapist and our LCL coordinator. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. I have to put my glasses on, otherwise I won't be able to see. Yes, so in reference to our social emotional pieces, so we have 38 school counselors, right? 1 at the elementary, 2 at the middle schools, 4 at all comprehensive high schools, and then of course our specialty campuses as well. I'm happy to report we have 6 mental health therapists. Our mental health therapists actually provide therapy to our students. We know that we have La Clinica across the main high school campuses that students can just walk to. We have 4 at the high schools, and then I'm happy to report that we now have 2 supporting our middle schools. So our latest one just started last week, supporting Santa Teresa and 8th graders at Gadsden High School. So with that, we know that learning is not going to take place unless our kiddos, right, are in a good place emotionally and whatnot. So we want to make sure that we're supporting the mental health pieces. We do collect data from all of the stakeholders that I just mentioned. We collect monthly data, and so we know as we get closer to testing season, but just across the board, our kids are struggling, right, with anxiety, with depression, whatever that looks like. And so our role is to make sure as counselors that we push in to support the social emotional, the personal, the academic and career piece, right? I know Ms. Gaona talked about the MLSS layers. Our counselors function at layers 1 and layers 2 at the elementary level. They push into classrooms. They provide actual guidance lessons, whether it's social skills, bullying prevention, conflict resolution, and then of course we know as we get to the middle school and secondary pieces, it goes more from whole group to individual, right? We're getting our kiddos ready now for post-secondary attainment, getting them ready for their career path, and those types of things. So it plays a big role, that social emotional piece. I just absorbed the social emotional piece as well. I think Conrad Bobadilla, who is now back as a mental health therapist, laid a good foundation as far as what is social emotional learning. My task now is to work with, we mentioned Marzano and HR as high reliability skills, that I'm going to push in and help to support the teacher unit plan with specific lessons, right? It's not a separate component. When we talk about social emotional learning, it's embedded in the core learning. And so that will be my task, is to help teachers and have resources and lessons for them. Okay. Any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next, I believe I have, there's just a lot on the plan. As you can see, we're very fortunate because we have such a great team, and there's just a lot of work going on. The next piece is we also provide attendance interventions for all our students with chronic absenteeism. Ms. Elisa Cumplido is the coordinator for that piece, and as you can see, I know that she's presented, there's a lot of data that has to go into that. And then if you recall, chronic absenteeism is different than regular absenteeism, and there's only a smaller percent of students. And so there's a lot of interventions, and we continue to work with that piece because, as you're aware, the state does not support there's no measure in regards to, I don't know if we want to call it consequence, or if we can maybe incentivize kids to come. So I know that Mr. Dempsey, when he is working with legislators and talking to the committees, that's something that always comes up. We still have a high chronic absenteeism rate. And so we're trying really hard as a staff to come up with ways to make sure kids want to be in school. right? And so that's a test that we're working on. My next piece now, we are now on goal number 3. I believe it's page, I can't see, 19 or 18. It's foster systems that support a culture of readiness. And one of the things that we were wanting to develop is a framework for the GISD graduate. Mr. Woolgamit will speak on that.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey, these next couple I can speak to. So we had talked about a few years ago developing a graduate profile, and by all miracles, the state said everybody should have a graduate profile. So this is still ongoing, and we'll be addressing this as we complete our graduation, approving our graduation requirements here within the next month or two. So I'll speak to that a little bit later. So that's going to continue to be ongoing. We also know that transitions, went down one more page to number 2, establishing transitions between our different levels. Our strongest transitions that are currently in place with the best systems are definitely our ones from pre-K to elementary. Do an outstanding job in that transition. The one that we're still working on here is strengthening those transitions from middle school to high school. We've had some good success with our advisory days that we have in February for those transitions, but that's still an area for ongoing growth. I know that with Miss Marilu Mendoza, Jen Park in my department, we're really trying to improve those. Number 3, if we go down one more, this is an exciting one. This is going to be ongoing, but man, it's going to be great when it's finished. This was a request of the parents on our overall priorities, is to have sixth grade in the middle school. And so we've been talking about having our STEM academies in the middle school. As you know, Gadsden High School, Gadsden Middle School, all the middle schools, when they get redone, will have a sixth grade STEM academy. Gadsden Middle School already in the construction process, and then Chaparral Middle School in the design process as well. So that'll be ongoing for a while. Mr. Hernandez, jumpstart.
Okay, moving on. We're now on strategic goal number 4, which was to adequately staff.
I'm sorry, Ms.
Yes.
Hernandez. I just had a question.
Oh,
sorry. I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Wogan.
So sorry.
You ran away.
I'm sorry, Ms. Rodriguez.
No, just briefly on, I was getting used to the colors.
Yes.
And then I don't see any colors for 2.2, 2.3. What is the reason that those are not?
Madam Vice President, so the reason those weren't tagged, Mr. Hernandez and I were having a conversation about this. The bulk of this work was initially written by a previous director of student success, and so when I reviewed this, I couldn't quite remember what the context of tagging those were, so we chose not to mark them. After further review, we'll probably end up marking some of these red, but we didn't feel comfortable by the time this meeting was held on having context for those. So that's why those are still white.
Thank you, and I appreciate that.
No problem.
That it's that way. I'd rather have something that is really happening or not.
Right.
So at this point, there's not that understanding, and until that's
And we didn't want to put red on it because we've got a review
right.
for the next one.
Right. Well, thank you for that.
And are there any
Yes,
other
that's-
questions on my part? I'm so sorry. I'm gonna.
No, you're good. Thank you.
Okay, the next piece is going to be with Ms. Estrella Burciaga, our HR Associate Superintendent. That's how do we adequately staff and the district with highly qualified personnel that provides the rigorous instruction and support.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. For this goal, we really did focus on new teachers. At that time, we had just come back from the pandemic. We had the fear of returning to the classroom. And so in summary, this goal really focused on our mentorship program for new teachers. So I would like to ask Margarita Barraza, who headed our mentorship program and continues to do so, to speak on the different aspects of our program.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Margarita Barraza. I'm the Title II Coordinator for Federal Programs. Good evening, Vice President Rodriguez, and good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Dempsey. It is a pleasure to be presenting to you all this evening. So I will start with 1.1, New Teacher Induction and Mentorship Program. I have been, this is my 4th year supporting new teachers and mentors supporting our new teachers. So that's why it's in green, because it is, it's already like in
Completed, thank you, yeah, completed. So 1.2, work in collaboration with outside organizations, LEAP and Thrive, NMSU, any other university that does the alternative licensure for our new teachers that are not certified. We do compensate our or pay the tuition for our teachers that are doing the licensure, alternative licensure. We normally do it through CES, which is the LEAP program. And it's been very successful. In 22-23, we had a total of almost 657 teachers, new teachers, and also teachers who were certified who went to a second endorsement, which is mainly, it was like 10 of them that were doing special ed, and like about 6 of those 10 were pre-K teachers that wanted to get certified in special education. And about, I would say like 50 were new teachers getting certified through the alternative licensure. This year, we also paid their tuition. We didn't have that many. It was, we had 10 new teachers that were getting certified that they're going to complete the alternative licensure in July. I will continue with 1.3, mentorship program, new teachers and new to the profession. This year, we did the 1 year of support. We did it a little bit different because since I began back in 21-22, I was supporting year 1, year 2, and year 3. Again, I did the best that I could, but again, it's only one of me, and there were so many new teachers. So this year, I am pushing it into the schools. I go and do walkthroughs on Tuesdays, depending on the school. I have 3 schools right now that I have 7 new teachers. Gadsden High School, Desert Trail, and Loma Linda Elementary. So I stay there all day. For those schools that have maybe 1 or 2 teachers, I go to different schools throughout the day, and then I also participate in their PLCs based on the walkthroughs that I did on Tuesday. I go to the PLCs on Wednesday. And it's been very, very good. I've created that partnership or those building relationships with my teachers. So I've really enjoyed that, being more in the campuses and visiting and supporting my new teachers. And I think the last thing that I want to say is teacher retention. I do want to go over in the past 5 years, I have collected the data. And I just want to share with you, when I started in 21-22, I did have a total of 76 new teachers that began in July. 2 were in pre-K, 45 were elementary. Secondary, I had 29, a total of 29. Certified, I had 20, and alternative licensure, I had 56, okay, in the year of, again, 21-22. For teacher retention, I had a total of 50 for that year and 26 that resigned, okay? Then for the year 22-23, I had a total of 38, 6 pre-K, 16 elementary, 16 secondary, 13 certified, 25 alternative licensure. Teachers who remained in the district, I had 26, and I had 12 resignations. In 23-24, total of 40 new teachers, 2 pre-K, 24 elementary, 14 secondary, 31 certified, 9 alternative licensure. So as we can see, when I began, the alternative licensure was almost like 75% of the new teachers that were being hired. We retained 35 and 5 resigned. So as we see, I guess the support has been very beneficial to them because we've kept our teachers. And then this year, I have a total of 53 teachers, 5 in pre-K, 31 elementary, 17 secondary, 27 certified, and 26 alternative licensure. So thank you for your listening to this report that we have presented to you. Do you have any questions for me?
Could you repeat what the actual goal was? I was writing it down and it disappeared.
We're on 4.
Adequately staffed, okay.
Adequately keeping the staff in the district with high qualified personnel. that provides rigorous instruction
And the focus was on teachers?
Yes.
And what about support staff?
Okay.
Mr. Morales, for this goal, we focused on new teachers specifically. And keep in mind that at this point, 80% of our new teachers were alternatively certified, meaning they did not study education. So we really felt that it was necessary, and we weren't retaining our new teachers, to focus on this element.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
And thank you for all those numbers. I mean, it's really impressive what you've done.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey. Mr. Morales, I know your question was on support staff. So what we took was what CES kind of told us about the teachers piece. And at the time, if you recall, during the pandemic or after the pandemic, we lost tons of teachers, right? Tons of teachers. And then it was very difficult to start getting certified staff. So that year was kind of hard. It was 80% were brand new teachers, and then our kids remember we did a hybrid model, like they could come if they wanted to and they couldn't. We didn't test all kids. Yeah, I had forgotten about PTSD, all that stuff. We are, before we move on, we are on the last goal, which is goal number 5, a very important goal for us, of course. This is the safety and security piece. But on the academic side, I think it's very important. I want to thank the board because I've done some presentations when we moved into the Marzano framework. You've listened to the literacy plan. You've listened to all kinds of things that we're doing with the district, with the SEL and all that. But I think that without the support, we really wouldn't be able to do that. I remember when we first introduced the Marzano framework, it's something new, it's different. Was after COVID, and it was different, fear of the unknown. And so I just want to thank, right now, that's really moving the district. And so I think that all of us, the dual language model piece, the SEL piece, the framework, it really helps that, and you've reached out like when there's questions or sometimes we don't want to hear the answer we have, but we do appreciate that because it does make a difference in the kids, and I tell you that we're seeing them move, and we're very proud. I mean, right now our MLSS team, the Ms. Gaona and her team, have been asked to present at the PED level to the state on MLSS, right? And she just started and had to redevelop the whole plan, and they're borrowing our plan. And so that's one piece. Our attendance piece is being borrowed by the state as well to use as a model. There's just a lot of pieces that we're being asked to present to the state. So being a leader in the state is something very important to us, but we wouldn't be able to do a lot of these things if we didn't have everybody's support, and so we appreciate everything. And then Ms. Cadena will finish off this presentation.
Before that, Ms. Cadena, I just want to make a comment on that. You mentioned the PTSD, and yes, thinking about Marzano, I know that at the beginning it was quite a mess, right? Because it wasn't rolled out correctly. The teachers didn't know what was happening. But I think we're seeing the fruit of that seed that was planted many years ago, a few, and now, yes, three years.
It feels forever, but yes.
And it's still, it's in the process, right?
It's a lot of work.
There's still a lot of work to be done, but I think that working together is what has made it happen, right? And having those mini conferences?
We had mini conferences, yes. And then just the approval of like the mental health therapist, all those pieces. We're very happy. Superintendent has a lot of meetings. We have support trenches, student leadership, coffee with the superintendent, coffee with the principals. We're very open and available, but we appreciate everything your support.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Cadena will finish off this plan.
Thank you, Maria. Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. Okay, so goal number 5, to provide safe and secure schools, and like Ms. Hernandez pointed out, this was at the end of COVID, and so we were very focused on safety, and so we involved nursing, of course, right? Nursing and health, security, technology, and facilities. Basically, those were the departments focused on this goal. So nursing and health services, registered nurse with a minimum of bachelor's degree in nursing for all school campuses. And I'm glad to say that right now we have one vacancy in nursing, so that's great. And then, you know, she wanted to strive for professionally licensed master's prepared social worker or counselor, which I think that's in another department, but I think they've done a good job on that as well. You know, the recruitment, social media outreach, utilize funding available to provide nursing and health. And of course, the responsible party was the Director of Nursing and Health Services in conjunction with federal programs, counseling, social workers, et cetera. Enhanced nursing and health services for the pre-K program. It's ongoing. If you can see in yellow, nurse on all the pre-K campuses. I don't think we're there yet, but phase one, nurse dedicated to pre-K. I think if I'm not mistaken, they float. Okay, 2 nurses to share campuses and nurses to campuses as able. Evaluate the funding resources and focus on recruitment of nurses when the need comes up. She completed assessing the increasing need for nursing services in the pre-K setting at the beginning of the fall and spring semesters. So they do that every fall and spring semester. And it's ongoing, and it is an increasing need. Directors of nursing and health services and early childhood program meet to discuss and review on a regular basis. School-based health centers. We do maintain school-based health centers. That's ongoing. We have one at each high school. And actually, what we have been able to do is come up with, work with Clínica de la Familia. And we have spoke sites at North Valley, Yucca Heights, and La Union. And what it is, it's a place where parents can go there and do telehealth, and they telehealth into the school-based health center that's at their corresponding high school. And from what I understand, Yucca Heights is working really well. And the other ones are progressing as well as people become more informed about those telehealth centers, satellite centers. She marked increased services to both students and staff, increased presence on CHS and JHS campuses to match STHS. So they've done that. Include a comprehensive mental and behavioral health, and that's working with mental health therapists, social workers, etc. They collaborate with La Clínica de Familia continuously, so that's going on. Identify at-risk students for mental behavior and health needs, and they've developed a communication plan between the nurse, counselor, and social worker that seems to be working well. They also identified and developed and shared a communication tool, and then it's also ongoing. Okay. Building security, I'm going to go on to number 5, increase building security with technology. So we've implemented the campus emergency response system called RAVE, and I think you've all been informed about that. Provide the panic button training for all staff and faculty. We conduct practice drills. Also monitor the percentage of staff faculty that download the app and test the staff assist function. Pretty much that's completed. Campus security cameras, we've come a long way. Mr. Snowdy and technology has rolled out a lot of cameras. He's finished campus upgrades of the security cameras and has trained on camera systems and critical event sensors. Admin and security staff have both been trained on the system functions, and that's implemented already. Critical area event sensors, and those are the vape sensors that have been placed in restrooms that detect vaping and also noise, like loud noises. So it helps us keep us informed or alerts us to maybe possibly fights or vandalism. So that was implemented in high schools. And I think, visitor management system. That was a system we were looking at to evaluate effectiveness of when visitors came. We did a trial on that, and actually, that's our one red. We did not implement that after the trial because there was some privacy concerns. Because the system required that, as visitors went in, they had to scan their driver's license. And so there was certain issues involved with privacy that we just got away from that. And now we rely more on our cameras and the fact that the cameras are able to do face recognition, et cetera. So, and actually it's pretty neat because you can actually flag a certain face on the camera in case that person comes onto a campus or an office, and you can actually get alerted. So it's pretty good technology. Pursuing the opportunities to include SROs. I mean, we've been successful with the Sunland Park Police. It's working really well. We have tried to pursue Doñana County, as you well know, and we may or may not be able to pursue that, but that's ongoing. Mr. Ortega has worked hard to try and get dedicated security resource persons at every campus, but of course that's contingent on funding. So we have added vehicles to the security staff so that they can rove and address their areas, in a certain feeder pattern. So that's working out pretty well. But our goal is still to pursue one for each campus. Campus emergency response, continuous. We partner with security and local law enforcement to provide access and training on all district security systems. We utilize the standard response protocol for emergencies that focus on lockdown, secure, hold, shelter-in-place evacuation, where PED requires us to do those drills, so many times a year. So we keep that. That's ongoing. Ongoing as well is evaluating facilities for security vulnerabilities and create action plans to address. We do that in the safe school plans, and also security and facilities work together to monitor, identify vulnerabilities, report them, monitor, and when needed, create work orders to address specific situations. And Mr. Stoney is also working on upgrading the intrusion alarm systems. Hopefully, with additional funding, we can do that, and that will be just moving towards our Verkada camera system. They also incorporate their Verkada cameras into a security system. So he's working towards that, and that's also contingent on funding. We did complete door access control. We're actually training the last group of campuses. So now we have doors, not every single door on campuses, but exterior doors have door access control where you can have the card readers and you can swipe in and get the door unlocked. That's working really well because we are requiring our campuses to keep their doors locked at all times, their exterior doors. So now we don't have the problem, with teachers or visitors trying to get in. We have, cameras, we have monitors where specific people can open the door when they see who's at the door, and then faculty and staff have cards to be able to get in and into the door. So that's a great accomplishment, and physical plant has worked really hard to get that done, and we're just in the last, like I said, in the last part of training every campus so that they manage their users. They add and subtract users as they come on board, or as they leave, they cancel their access card. So that's great because we no longer have to deal with physical keys that might get lost. Because you lose your card, we just cancel it in the system. And then, of course, we're also always assessing and evaluating facilities. We do it ourselves. We get assessed by PSFA. We get assessed by POMS. When we do the facility master plan, which is coming up next year, we have that third party that comes in and assesses all our facilities. So we're constantly being assessed
we do internal assessments, and we're assessed by our outside groups, the fire marshal. We're also training and support for our staff. We have regularly scheduled all during the year. We have training for physical plant and, of course, security. Those departments, we train on different things, safety, and actually we're about to do a OSHA 30 training, which is really important we're going to start with our supervisors and then move down to everybody else so that they'll have that OSHA 30 certification. And of course, we continue to sanitize and disinfect. I mean, we had, at that time, I have PTSD from that time where people were very paranoid about how we sanitized and, and cleaned and everything. But, lessons learned, there was lessons learned. There's good that came out of it. And we have incorporated that into our cleaning, daily cleaning protocol. And of course, last but not least, it says identify strategic locations and prioritize resources for pre-K buildings. And as you know, yes, we're very focused on pre-K. We are building the Riverside pre-K, and then we have pre-K classrooms throughout several campuses, correct? So, and we completed the addition of the 4 classrooms at the Chaparral pre-K. So that's something that's only growing with early childhood. And so we hope that as hopefully the state will give us some more funding for early childhood. Okay, I stand for questions.
Any questions? Ms. Murillo?
Just a comment and a question. So the comment, thank you so much, because this actually came up at the community meeting about how safe do we feel as parents, right?
Right.
And I don't think we heard anybody saying that they were worried. Everybody felt pretty safe, and I think it shows, right, that we're in a really good place. The question with POPs, what ended up happening with that? Because is it ongoing? Because I remember like it was a lot of movement, and then Ms. Rodriguez was on TV, and there was just a lot of advertisement, and then we saw new parents coming in, and so it was a really big thing, and then all of a sudden like there's nothing. So I don't know.
I think Mr. Ortega can comment on that one. Because
Like, did it work? It didn't work?
I think he has some insight for you, yeah. On the POP.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent. In reference to the POPs, it's still ongoing. The thing is that as much as we advertise for it, we do show some individuals who show interest in it. But once we start going through the vetting system, it almost seems it slows down or it just comes to a stop. So we do have it. I mean, we did do a presentation with Mr. Carmona on YouTube. So we are still ongoing on providing that POPs training. And of course, I believe that for some time, it may have slowed down. But I know I do get some inquiries from some of the principals from the regional campuses that have parents who are interested. And of course, we provide the information and an insight as to what we do and what is required of them to do. And they're all excited. And by all means, we're waiting. And then unfortunately is that once it goes to the vetting system with human resources, it just comes to a snag. So to answer your question, yes, it's still there. We still have it. I'm just waiting for individuals to come forth and participate on that. And we do have a couple of volunteers still doing the POPs at some of our elementary schools and some of the one high school. So it's there. It has not gone away. We have it. And I'm just waiting to see if we can get any more interest in it. And I believe we're just going to have to reboot it again. And I may have to get with Mr. Carmona and probably do another video feed on that in order to promote it, in order to bring a little bit more interest for the parents who want to come in and participate in this program.
Go ahead, Mr. Morales.
You brought up the vape detectors. And I was wondering, and this crossed my mind like several months ago, is do any of the schools use drug sniffing dogs?
No, sir. I believe that that was done away with a few years before my time when I started with the district. I don't know the reason, but that was done away with, and I think it was controversial at best, or something happened. I'm not sure. I could not answer that.
I remember when I was going to Gadsden High School, it was really effective.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And to add to Mr. Ortega's comment on the POPs, I think, it just dawned on me. I think it's a good thing to bring it up at the community meetings that they have at the community centers, and maybe use that as a recruitment tool for parents if they are interested. Any other questions? Nope. Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey, that does conclude our part of the presentation. Thank you for listening. The strategic plan is very, just a reminder, these are just the focus areas from the parents and the community. If you saw, you didn't see math in here because that was not a priority at the time. So this is just a little bit of what the team does every day, right? There's a lot of pieces missing. I don't want to discard, pre-K is in here, like pre-K 12, pre-K, but they are such an important part of it that Ms. Natalie Urbina is their director. She's here. But I just wanted to say that her work and her team's work in recruiting our students and keeping, because, it's voluntary. Pre-K is voluntary. So we're competing with daycares, private daycares, things like that. So they do a really good job at making sure our kids stay, right? And so that's something that I just wanted to add on here. The thing for this strategic plan was that they wanted more facilities for pre-K, which we've done. So that's a great thing, a great feat for the district, because like Ms. Cadena said, we finished the Chaparral, and I even think we added extra. And the Riverside one, we added 2 more classrooms for it. And so we're very happy about that. But I didn't want that to go, pre-K does a lot for us as well. So thank you. Any questions?
Any questions, comments? Go ahead, Mr. Morales.
I do, and thank you very much for everybody that presented. It's pretty comprehensive. It's pretty impressive feat that you guys have done. The one thing that I would like to add to it, and it probably come from CES, is to show the correlation between the everything that's been done to the outcomes.
Oh, perfect.
That way people can say, oh, look, yeah, we've done this, we've done that, we've done this, and here's the outcome. Whether it's, bringing in a mental health provider or some of the other goals that you've reached.
Yes,
I mean, it's that way, because all as a board we can go through is numbers. And then, so, as you can tell, I take a lot of notes.
Perfect.
But even, some of these things, when we can see, like the upgrading intrusion alarm systems, it's contingent on funding. So at some point, it'd be like to know, well, how much funding is needed, to make that a reality or to push it forward, or is it something that we need to reallocate somewhere else? But anyway, congratulations. I think you guys did a fabulous job in presenting all of this. And I think it's good for the community to see everything that's actually happening in the district.
Thank you. And if you have any questions, you can call me, and then I can direct you to the right director for that piece. Thank you.
So before you leave, I want to make a comment. I think the strategic plan is really what, it's like a roadmap, right, of what is necessary. And so I think that, as we can see, this is the first time for the first 3 years that it's been implemented. And I think that that was the vision. When we talked about that, this is what we were looking for. And I think that the biggest part of this is that the community spoke, and now it's being, something's being done in whatever areas. And so now that we're starting this new one, I want to make sure, that, well, I don't want to make sure, I want to encourage everyone to participate, because this is what drives everything that is happening within the district, right? So your voice is extremely important, and as you can see, everything that was presented, and this is just the tip, really. But I think that having that data is going to be also something important, so that we know this is sufficient, this is not. I like the colors. For me, it's very easy to absorb that, and seeing that there's a lot of yellow. There is a lot of yellow, but that's okay, because it's a goal that's being worked towards, accomplishing it. And I think those reds, I appreciate as well, because we don't want to do something that really is not going to be effective, or it's not going to work for our district, right? So discarding those and making, making us aware that this just didn't function for whatever reason. And if we need that explanation, contacting you so you can direct us to the director, as you mentioned, and knowing what the reasoning is behind that. So thank you. The strategic plan is really fluid. It's not set in stone, and there's going to be changes, and some things will be good, some things will not work. So thank you for all the hard work and everyone that's a part of it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, I need to continue now. Okay, so now moving on to discussion item E. It was what? 14E. This is the immigration plan. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, this was again a request by a individual board member. I just want to add some pieces that are a little bit new. Well, let me back up a little bit. As things changed at a federal level pretty quickly, there was probably some fear, and what we tried to do is, my opinion is, one of our best attributes of school is trusting the relationship our kids have with our teachers. And if we can keep our teachers calm in almost any situation, we can keep everybody else calm. What I also didn't want them to have to do is try to manage this. And that's a lot to ask a teacher. So what a small group of us did is we spent a little bit of time on a couple webinars to bring ourselves up to speed. We reached out to legal counsel to get some guidance on it. And we established a protocol that's currently in place at our campuses. And what we want the board to understand is that we've given, I think, clear instruction. If a official comes to our campus asking about immigration status, we have a protocol. Principal carries that. I really don't feel like it's fair for anyone else to have to deal with that. And there's a lot of tricky pieces to it. Part of it is what documentation they have with them, and there's some differences in the different documentation, if you will. So their first step is to gather the documentation, scan it immediately, contact me, and then we go to legal services to make sure we understand what we're looking at. That's still in place. I think we're probably at a point where I need to make a little bit of open a little bit of a conversation to our community and families, and start trying to help guide them. But it got said just a few minutes ago about the strategic plan, and they said this the whole time during pandemic is a fluid situation. What could change? We got to deal with that reality. What I write today might be impacted and changed tomorrow. We have to understand that. One of the bigger pieces that I probably want the board to see as an example is, if we go back to the slide, Mr. Carmona, there was a situation recently in one of our checkpoints associated with student travel, and it had to do with a charter bus. So charter buses usually aren't marked, and what we've learned is the protocol that Border Patrol agents will use is they need to quickly be able to establish sound communication with the individual driving. If they can't, then they have a protocol that they follow. So this situation happened with a neighboring school district. I've been in contact with that neighboring district, and we've agreed on some practices we're going to follow to help identify any of our students on a charter bus and make sure that they have some information with them to ensure that everybody on the bus is a student. That's the emphasis. We want to make sure that this is designated as a student bus. And really, at the end of the day, once that's done clearly, then there's not likely to be any kind of problem. So, like I mentioned, we seek legal guidance on all of it. We want to maintain a neutral, non-political approach. That's a non-negotiable for us, right? We want to show respect for authority, and we always cooperate, and we're required by policy to cooperate with law enforcement. And then we also want to be transparent to parents. FERPA requirements remain in place. So what I want the board to also understand is FERPA protects student information, right? We don't, as a school district, we don't collect anything that would have any type of immigration status on it whatsoever. And so, but here's something that I want you to also be clear. There's a difference between what's protected under FERPA and directory information. Directory information, which are phone numbers, addresses, and names of parents, is not protected under FERPA. And so I want you to understand that, because there is some information that if is requested, I have no choice but to provide it. But we do have a protocol in place. I'm probably going to work with something to try to get some information out. But for the most part, as it's come up in several different spaces. And so what we're trying to do is just talk everybody through it, make sure we address that individual concern, and then keep things as calm as we possibly can, and not try to add something to our office staff and teachers' plates that they may not be comfortable dealing with it. Because there's some complexities to this that were, even as I started finding out about different warrants, they're very different in their meaning. And that's something that most people would not even, I didn't know, to be honest with you. Any questions around that, or any guidance around how we approach this and what the best practices might look like?
Go ahead, Ms. Murillo.
I want to thank you for this, because there has been a lot of conversations. I was invited to be part of a Zoom meeting with Congress, and there was a lot of media there, and questions were very specific. And so one of the questions to me was, well, how come you guys are not, how come you guys haven't posted nothing out there? And so my answer was like, I haven't heard of any issues, me personally. So I've seen and I've talked to parents, because they have asked, well, do you guys have anything in place? There is something in place. And actually a parent asked at the community meeting, well, what is the plan, right? And so I'm like, well, I don't know what the plan is, but I don't think that's something for us to know what the plan is, as long as they have a plan for the school, right, for the administrator. But I think we're in a very unique situation, because attending that meeting and then attending the consulate's meeting with the leadership, it was very similar. They both said the same thing. They said, we have a great relationship with our law enforcement. And I think that makes a big difference. And we're non-political, right? And I think that also creates a big division. And so I think it all comes down to relationships, and it comes down to having that partnership and being able to have those meetings. If you're having those already, I do appreciate that, because I personally, I haven't had a single phone call about anybody being worried, about anybody demanding answers, as other cities that have asked me, what are you guys doing that you guys are not out there in the media? So I'm really grateful for that, and seeing this, and having this in a public setting, in a public meeting, and parents and teachers can see that there is something in place, right? And the reason that they're not hearing anything is because we haven't got any of those situations, and that doesn't mean that we're not going to have them, but at least that they know that you guys are prepared for any kind of situation.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? No? I do want to make a comment, or I guess it's a question. When I'm thinking, or what is the approach of, that staff are aware what the protocol is? You stated that the principal is the one that's in charge, or is the first line of defense per se, right? They're the ones that get that information. So how is that being conveyed to the staff?
Madam Vice President, I think that's probably our next step. We really, and I did it purposely. One of the things that I think as we talked within leadership, we wanted to be sure of, we didn't want to perpetuate fear. And it felt like the more we talk about, the more fear we didn't want to add to it. I understand that families may be very uncomfortable and may be afraid. And I didn't want to be the face of that. I've been in situations in my role as a superintendent where, here's my best example. At some point, I felt like our community was asking me to be an expert on water. And I was not going to shoulder that, right? Because I can't. I don't have the expertise. I don't have the ability. This is similar. I'm not an expert on immigration, but I want to help. I've just got to figure out the right way to help. And so I think it probably is time to open up a little bit more and say, here was our plan, teachers. If you have any situation, please notify your principal. I hesitated initially because I had a little bit of a fear of our staff teachers getting in a situation where they're on one side of it or the other. And I did not want them to get in that pickle. And I felt like if anybody's going to get in that situation, let it be me, so that they're not. But I think now we're ready to really advertise it. And I knew it was going to be talked about tonight. So we'll start pushing this out to all staff and all employees so that they're aware of it and know the plan, and then understand we'll adjust as this progresses and proceeds, because I anticipate additional changes. I really do. But we want to keep our kiddos calm. We want to make sure our kiddos feel safe, because if they don't feel safe, they can't learn. But the relationship with law enforcement is just, I can't emphasize how good it is. And you know, the thing that probably you want to remember, what hyped things up in the media seemed to be that churches and schools were at one point kind of sacred places, and then that protection was removed. And then there was this fear that somehow they were just going to like raid schools. No law enforcement wants to have a juvenile in custody. That's that's the highest liability any of them could have. And there's no gain there whatsoever. And so I didn't want to be a part of perpetuating that, because that seemed to be where it was going. And we were getting many calls from many federal agencies trying to create a story. And we were not having that. We were not a part of that. We had to shut down many attempts that a story was out there, and we immediately, Mr. Carmona did a fabulous job of, that is inaccurate. That did not happen on our campus. We've not had a single situation to date on any of our campuses. So I just want to emphasize that.
I appreciate that. I think it's very important, right? And looking at the different steps that need to be taken. And more than anything, creating that, or as an individual, if there's a question, educate yourself and not just what the media says. You know, the media is looking to create a highlight. So educate yourself in getting the correct information of what it is that's truly happening, or what the steps would be for a certain circumstance. But thank you for that. But I do believe, you know, now we need to continue moving, but of course, making sure that we're following what is happening, because there's many things. I mean, it could be one day it's up here, and then all of a sudden there's really nothing happening. So keeping track of that is what is necessary. So thank you. All right. So now moving on to discussion item 14. 14F, GISD policy IKF, graduation requirements.
Madam Vice President, board members, Mr. Wogomuth is going to present this item.
Madam President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey, we continue our graduation requirement journey that will come to conclusion here before the end of the school year. This is our timeline of events so far. If you wanted to recall, we started with this back in last legislative session. We worked together last fall to get some input on the new elements of this graduation policy. You can see some of the input there. We were waiting on the PED to publish something in December on some guidance. They put out a manual. I guess that's good enough. So we have a manual that we're looking at now. That's a start. And then, of course, we had some advisement you took some actions already on some topics in October. And now we're ready to revisit the last couple of items you're going to take action on before we present you with a full revised policy IKF with everything in context. Next slide, please. So remember, one big new element of our graduation requirements is to develop a graduate profile. We had that workshop where you all contributed. We did the surveys last fall. So what the handout I gave you are the different graduate profile areas that we agreed on in the cognitive, personal, and interpersonal areas. Again, this was a big consensus with all of our stakeholders. So I just wanted you to have that aside, because as we continue to talk about our graduation requirements and courses, right, it needs to support these. What we do in our schools needs to support this for our graduates. So you have a paper copy. There's a virtual copy online for the public. Next slide, please. So a quick refresher, here are the coursework requirements that the PED has put in place. Anything in red on that slide are actions that you already have taken that will be embedded in the final policy. This evening, we're going to be discussing the items that we have highlighted there in blue. We're going to discuss a couple of required credits for Gadsden ISD specifically to meet student needs. And I'm going to give you a little bit of information on this kind of strange 0.5 credit in the electives and an idea we have for that. Next slide, please. As a quick reminder, here are the actions that you've taken so far. I always want to remind the board and the public, this does not affect anybody currently in high school. If you are currently in high school, your graduation requirements remain the same as they were. This is new requirements for students in 8th grade that are entering high school next year. Okay, so always want to make sure everybody understands that. So far, these are the actions that you've taken. We've decided on 24 credits. We decided that Algebra 2 is going to be required in our district. We've decided that the half credit of health will remain in high school. Those reds were board's actions. And then informational stuff, we're going to be resequencing math as Mr. Rand presented to you a couple of meetings ago. Did not require your approval, just wanted to make sure you were informed. Next slide, please. So remember on the blue on the bottom there, we have to decide on 2 credits, okay, that we're going to offer here in GISD to support the profile and student needs. This came up, and of course it's listed here as being a multilingual communicator is a cognitive skill we want our students to have. So we have come to an agreement that every student in GISD should take at least one language other than English. We know that we want our kids to take more than one course. We want them to take a sequence of courses to learn a different language, especially to support what is around here. Spanish is a native language for many of our families and our students, and we really want to strengthen that. And Ms. Tarazona and her department has done a great job with the bilingual seal. So even though we're only proposing that we require one course, we are going to continue to promote that students take as many courses as possible, because being multilingual is not. It's a job and a life skill, and it's a preservation of your culture and heritage that is incredibly important. So we are proposing that language other than English in our state course manual. That'd be any course that falls in the 1200 section. And of course, we always want to make sure with our students that we're placing them when they come into our high schools. We're placing them at the right level of Spanish. I probably need to be at Spanish 1. Members of the board probably don't need to start at Spanish 1 in high school. So we want to make sure we are getting them in the right level of Spanish to leverage the growth of their skills. So that is one credit that we are proposing be required of the 2. Next credit. Next slide. Next credit. Okay, so okay, that is still the same slide. So the next slide, please. Here we go. Okay, so this is something. We're really excited about what we put here. We got a lot of feedback on all these different cognitive and personal skills and interpersonal skills that we want our students to have. And so what we're really looking at is making sure that all students in GISD complete one of 2 courses that are going to really hit a lot of these areas here. I want you to think of this course that's going to be taken as typically a junior or a senior as a transition from high school to whatever their post-secondary looks like. Okay, that could be, we really want our kids to be employed, enrolled, or enlisted, right? Those are, we think of the 3 E's of post-secondary, and we want this course to kind of be a transition out for them. So 2 options here. One course we're calling Academic and Personal Effectiveness, which under the course manual is called Seminar, but we'll title it Academic and Personal Effectiveness, or College Success. So I'm a junior or senior. I can pick one of these 2 courses that best fit my needs, and I'll try to explain a little bit of the difference. Academic and personal effectiveness. This is a course throughout the year that's going to cover a variety of topics. These are some ones we think are good that tie to our graduate profile. But the nice thing about this course is we can kind of annually sort of customize what those units are in there as we see needs change. So some topics we might cover in this course: personal financial literacy, transitioning to colleges and careers, health and wellness, civic responsibility, community involvement, communication skills, practical life skills. Mr. Morales brought up a great point in one of the meetings about writing in cursive or reading cursive. And I had made the comment back, just sometimes a signature. So when we think about things that oftentimes is a life skill we take for granted, are things that kids are going to have to do, but we don't practice. And that's just a kind of a silly example of that. So we see a lot of those tying in, a lot of those, if you want to think of them as units in that class, tying into our graduate profile. The other option we want to give students is if they don't want to take academic and personal effectiveness, we want them to take, they could also take, or instead of, and they could take both of these if they wanted to, college success. So right now, we have a great model of a college success course that is currently in place for any student that wants to be in dual credit. It's a prerequisite requirement. If you're a junior and you want to be in dual credit your senior year, you have to take college success. And the one thing about college success here is it covers many of the topics that you see kind of listed there in the academic and personal success. What it doesn't typically cover are some of the practical life skills, the civic responsibility, and the community involvement. But we wanted to make sure in this, for this second required credit, we gave kids a menu of choice, because we wouldn't want a student as academic services to have to take college success and academic and personal effectiveness, especially if they were going to be off campus on dual credit their senior year. So we really feel that either of these courses, depending on the little path that you're going to kind of go on, they're really hitting a lot of the elements in our requirement here. So that is the second course we're requiring for approval. So far we've presented language other than English as one credit, or a credit from the menu of academic and personal effectiveness or college success. Those two, we're going to come back a little bit later, and in board policy, you'll approve those in board policy. Okay. This last one I'm going to show you is a little bit unique. This will not require board approval. This is something we can just do administratively. If you recall back on that slide that showed the weird 0.5 credits, it's kind of weird when you have a half credit hanging out there. Because right now in our high schools, we have half credit of New Mexico history the freshman year that's paired with health. So it makes a year-long class, okay? New Mexico history is no longer a standalone course because there has to be 4 full credits of social studies instead of 3.5. So we kind of need a half credit pair for our freshmen to go with health. And so we're having a conversation about, strategic plan, transition from middle school to high school. We were thinking a little bit about our profile here. And what birthed out of that was a course that we're proposing to call high school orientation, right? It'll be matched with the health course. It'll be just half a year. And it's really going to focus on what are the skills that freshmen need to learn when they're freshmen to have a successful rest of their high school career. And so right now, ones we're throwing around, we've kind of been doing some research. Again, these topics aren't set in stone, but communication skills, problem solving, confidence building, conflict resolution, skills for school, cyber literacy, current events, world geography. We've been throwing around what kinds of units would be good for those courses. Again, what's really excited about for this course is this is only half a year. You could really customize the elements of this course based on what an individual campus might need. GHS might need a little something different for their freshmen than STHS or Alta Vista or Chaparral, and so really there might be 3 or 4 things we all do, but then there might be 3 things that campuses do to meet their individual needs of their students as freshmen. And in my experience as a freshman teacher and assistant principal in charge of freshmen, the freshman class next year is going to have a different set of needs than the freshman class the year after. So we're really excited about this opportunity because it can really help us customize that. So we have a course coming into high school, transitioning from middle school to high school. And then we're also going to have a course transitioning from high school to what they decided to do post-secondary. So what we've heard and what we've seen in our profile, we think that these items are really hitting what our community is telling us they want to see out of school. Okay? And then the last summary slide here. We did go to Equity Council advisement. We did get a lot of positive feedback on this in general. There's always a conversation about requiring a couple of years of language of an English instead of one. And then there's a little thing about driver's ed here that we had been talking about that came from Equity Council that I want you to know as well. And we visited with student leadership about this morning. So driver's ed is something I think all of us, we were trying to drive before we could, and we were all running out there to get cars. And that is not seemingly what a lot of kids are doing these days. It's not a rite of passage as it used to be. But having a license is one of your first credentials that is vitally important for decisions that opportunities you're going to have in the future. And so right now we're trying to figure out how to integrate a driver's ed opportunity back into our high schools. At this point, there's the course, the actual course, and the driving. Parents can actually do the driving part as long as we give them the course part. So we're really looking about how can we integrate back into our high school program the the classroom portion of driver's ed. And we're really looking to tie that to an incentive for freshmen because a successful freshman year where you get all your credits is going to lead to a successful high school career. And so we've been tossing around ideas about typically you would take a driver's ed course. You have to be 15 when you have to turn 15 while the class is in session. Typically that's sophomore year, second half of sophomore year, sometimes junior year, right? When kids do that. So what we're looking at doing is, and then before after school program, we're doing some research, getting some training. Not sure how we're going to operationalize this, but it's something that we wanted you to know about. To operationalize after school, before school, somebody we can pay to do driver's ed, so our kids can get the lab portion without having to pay the $600 or $700, or I don't know what's costing these days. But it was pretty pricey back when I was principal. So we're excited about that. It's not a graduation requirement, but I felt it came up in Equity Council. It was something we were excited about that we wanted to kind of throw out here. So that's the information there. I'll stand for questions here in a moment, or clarifications or suggestions, because again, as a board, you'll be the final decision on those 2 credits. We will come back to you, not this next board meeting, but planning at the end of March board meeting with all these changes in the context of the actual policy. Okay, with the strikeouts and all that kind of stuff, so we can see everything we talked about in the context of the policy, because we were waiting on something from the Policy Advisory Service, nothing yet, so we can't wait any longer. So we'll get that to you for a first read. We're planning to get that to you for a first reading in March, and then possibly action early April, or if you need a second reading. But really, our goal is to get this approved by the end of April. So that's our plan. Can I provide any clarification or information or suggestions on what was presented to you today?
Go ahead, Mr. Morales.
Thank you. On courses 826 and 890, do you see, again, reading and writing cursive as part of any section?
Madam President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Mr. Morales, I'm going to tell you, I think with these courses, because the course that's leading out to the junior year, we have a couple of years to develop that, because the kids they won't have it for 2 years. So I think there's room for those things. I mean, you do have to be able to read cursive, right? I mean, that is a thing. If you're going to college, you're studying primary documents as a whole history teacher. I think those kinds of we have to decide what our list of practical life skills is. And I think reading cursive, writing a signature, right? I think those are practical life skills that could certainly be integrated. I think it'd be hard to teach cursive in high school, but the ability to decipher cursive is not an unreasonable life skill to help teach kids.
Okay, and then regarding course 842, which is for incoming freshmen,
yes,
would there be a section in reading historical documents?
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey, were you a history teacher, Mr. Morales?
No.
I was a history teacher, and so if you're going to tell me anything about history up here, I'm just going to say yes, even though we haven't talked about it. But again, that often finds itself more in the history course. I will tell you from a former social studies perspective, our students coming in, social studies moving through our system and coming into high school, one area that they have gaps that need to be really filled are the couple we listed are sort of a geography and current events in the context of the world. So we have a short time for that class period. Or that class, it's only half a semester. So that's the social studies element we're prioritizing because the historical documents does show up later in the other courses. But again, I think there's room to decide things on there. Our social studies specialist is the one that is leading the writing of the of these scales. He's going to watch this meeting, and I don't know if he's going to show up in the morning with the historical documents in there.
Let me tell you why I asked that question. That's my roundabout way to getting kids to learn to read cursive.
Yes, sir.
Reading and writing cursive because it's important.
I understand.
We work with kids and they can't sign their name, and it's like, oh my gosh, we actually have to teach them how to write cursive, and I give them notes and stuff to do, and they're like, oh, I can't read this, and they panic. Okay, the other question that I have is, what do you think the implementation time frame is? Say everything passes and everything's good to go, and the courses are ready.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. So for the high school orientation course, Mr. Mossholder, who is our secondary social studies specialist, is taking the lead on developing these scales. So he's pretty close to ready to go with a general framework for the freshman course because that needs to be ready for next year. The college success class as the option, the second choice, that is already in place. We have been doing that and working with NMSU on that for a couple of years. It's gone through a couple of iterations. The academic and personal effectiveness, we're going to need to solidify and write that all of next year because our students at Alta Vista Early College High School, they do their first year in high school as freshman and sophomore. So by their second year in high school, they'll be ready for this course. So by the 26-27 school year, we'll need to have that course in place. So next year will be the time for writing and developing and collaborating with teachers for the academic and personal effectiveness. You're welcome.
Any questions? You're good? I just wanted to make a comment on the 0842. It's the high school orientation.
Yes, ma'am.
And I read this and I think it's almost like just life skills, right? Those are things that are necessary for our students that I know way back when I was in high school, we used to have the modern life skills class. And in a sense, I mean, obviously these are more detailed, but I think that is what our kids need, right? In order to survive, in order to thrive, they need to have all this. And I think the approach by utilizing that 0.5 credit is going to be something that will be effective if it's applied correctly and implementing other things such as what Mr. Morales was stating, and not just making it because it's a 0.5 credit, not putting more effort into it. But that was just a quick comment.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to 14G, the edu staff, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, Ms. Burciaga will take care of the next two items.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. I am excited and pleased to close up the evening because we have two new partnerships with Gadsden Independent School District and two companies. Our first is EduStaff, and it affects our substitutes. As a district, we have really met our capacity as to what we can provide our substitutes. We do not offer them contracts. We do not allow them to work more than 4 days a week. We have stayed constant at a 90% fill rate. And so we have decided to join in a partnership with EduStaff, who can offer our substitutes much more than we can and also improve our fill rate, and the number of substitutes that they bring into our district. So I do have a representative from EduStaff here today. Her name is Amy Dawson, and I would like for her to present our partnership, and then I'll stand for questions at the end.
Madam Vice President and members of the board and Superintendent Dempsey, thank you for having me. I don't know if you have the EduStaff slides. These are for Rethink. Sorry. There we go. And I'll probably go pretty quickly through them. But again, my name is Amy Dawson. I'm thrilled to be here today. I actually came in from Arlington, Texas, but this area is really like home to me. I'm a New Mexico State graduate. I was an elementary teacher, and I did my student teaching in Las Cruces. And this really does feel like coming home. I already had my fill of New Mexican food today, so I love coming here every chance I get. So we are so excited to be able to partner with Gadsden ISD this coming school year. EduStaff is a third-party K-12 staffing provider, and we're going to partner with Gadsden next school year for substitute teachers. So the way that we're going to do that is we actually are going to take over all of the responsibilities that come along with managing a substitute program. So we are going to recruit, we're going to screen, hire, train, place, manage, and grow Gadsden's substitute pool. And in turn, we're also going to relieve the district of some responsibilities, such as things that can kind of be, a headache, like ACA compliance, like Dr. Burciaga was talking about, when they're unable to work more than 29 hours a week. Now they're going to be able to work 5 days a week. Also, we now are going to take on workman's comp claims, unemployment claims, any kind of headache like that, that now becomes our headache, and the district can be relieved of that. So just so you know, the substitutes are going to be well supported, well trained, and well recognized. And the way we'll do that, if you look at this slide that's up there, is that, and we've already posted for this position, but we're going to have a district manager that we're going to hire from your community. We're looking for them right now. We want to make sure that it's somebody that is very familiar with Gadsden. And the wonderful thing is that, here it is, it's February, and we're already looking for this person so we can make sure that we get the right person into the district for Gadsden. That person is going to be really embedded in the district. They're going to have office hours. They're going to be doing the recruiting and the training. They're going to become very close to those building administrators, to the building secretaries. They are going to be very well known throughout the district. And the beautiful thing with partnering with a third-party provider such as EduStaff is that it's not just that one person at the district office that is wearing 30 different hats. We have an entire corporation, a corporate office filled with people that are going to support that district manager. And so if you look on the right side, we actually have departments that are going to support them. We have a department that's just there to support the subs, where they can call and email and, ask all the questions that they have. We've got an entire marketing team that's going to be taking care of that. We've got a human resources team. And then, of course, payroll. They're going to get to know Ludim and Priscilla really well. And then we also have applicant processing. So it's not just that district manager that's doing all of that themselves. We counted them up, and there's about 22 people that are going to be supporting Gadsden ISD directly. You can go ahead and move to the next slide. So you're probably going to start seeing this pretty soon. We're going to start marketing, and you're going to see signs up everywhere, just letting people know that Gadsden is hiring substitutes, letting parents know that they're qualified to substitute. They may not know that they're qualified to do that, but you're going to see the signage everywhere. We're going to be recruiting through social media. We're going to be recruiting, obviously, with signage. That district manager is going to be doing career fairs, job fairs, going to visit UTEP and NMSU, just doing everything that they can in order to grow that sub pool. And I just wanted to tell you, this is something that kind of makes us unique as well. And I know this is a reason that Gadsden decided to partner with us, is that we're really able to spend the time training the substitutes. And we have what we call 3 levels of training. Of course, they're going to get their initial compliance training, right, that they have to do, the same things that you all do now for the substitutes. We're going to do whatever it is the district requires. But then we're also going to do in-person 2-hour trainings. That district manager will be doing those all over the district, going to substitutes. Your district is geographically very large, so they will be traveling around and conducting those to make sure that they can help all the subs that they can. And they're going to be doing classroom management training. So those subs are going to know, what do I wear? How do I talk to the kids? Where do I go? What happens if I don't have any plans? We actually give them a classroom management booklet that has ideas and really shares all of that with them. But they're going to feel very supported. And then we also have additional PD. Let's say that a principal, decides that the sub needs something extra. We can require that they do that as well. So we do have that as well. So I did have a couple of slides if you want to go to the next one. And I won't go through all of these, but I did just want to share how we have been able to grow sub pools and increase fill rates for some of the districts that we work with. This is just an example of a district it's a little larger than yours, 1,500 teachers. But you can see that they before they started with us, they were in this low 70% for their fill rate. And they only had, and of course I cannot see that because my eyes are terrible, but a very small number of subs. And we have managed to really grow that. Thank you so much. I turned 55 and my eyesight went down. So you can see just this past year how we've been able to actually double the number of subs available. And you can go to the next slide. And actually, we're going to click through the next one. And then we'll go ahead and just go to the next one. I don't want to take too much time. If you want to see these, I'm happy to go through them. Let's go to one more. The next one, this is just an example of a district that we just started with this fall. And I just wanted to share with you that this is just the first 3 months of the school year. We were able to take their number of subs from a little over 300 to almost 600 in just 2 months. And we actually had another almost 100 subs that were waiting to be approved. So I really believe that this is something that you guys can expect to see from us, that we're going to be able to really grow that pool and be able to keep your fill rates really high. Next slide, and I promise I'm almost done. Did want to share with you that we are going to be really supporting those substitutes and providing them some benefits. They will have the option to have a health plan. And they will have the option to be part of our 401k. It's the same one that I have as an employee of EDU staff. And the medical plan, actually, if they worked 1 day, they can actually be a part of that. And just working that 1 day would pay for that for them for the month. So just a great opportunity for your substitutes, especially now that they're going to be able to work 5 days a week. And then some other things, what we really like to do is something that Abby at the district office was saying, she wanted to really recognize some of the great subs. We're going to be able to do that. We do all kinds of things, where we're doing recognition and appreciation, and we do a sub of the month and a sub of the year. And so we really, hopefully I'm back here again and I have those substitutes to present to you, because that's really special for them, and to show that they're really appreciated by Gadsden for what they do. And last slide, just a couple of final thoughts. Obviously, you're going to have that local manager that's going to be working at the district. You obviously can hire any of these subs at any time with no fee. And then lastly, something happens, you decide you're not happy with us, a 60-day notice, and you're out of the contract. No questions asked. So, do you have any questions for me?
Go ahead, Mr. Morales.
Thank you. I have a couple. What's going to happen to the current subs that you have?
So they are going to become our employees. So we will hire them.
Automatically?
Yes, if they're already hired by the district and they've already, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so we're already working on a transition plan. We've already communicated with all the substitutes. We're going to bring them in for a mini orientation, and they are going to apply, and they're all going to become employees. I just want to reiterate, they are not Gadsden employees. We do not offer them a contract. All we have is an agreement. And so with this, they do become employees of a company. They are entitled to benefits. But yes, we're already working on that transition plan as of now. We've already set dates with edu staff as to when they're going to come in and meet with those substitutes. And so we should be in full implementation for the incoming school year.
That's great. Follow-up question. The online training, is that provided in English and Spanish?
Yes, that is one thing that I questioned because I want to take care of our staff. I don't want them to be left out in any capacity. And so, yes, they assured me that they would be hiring somebody bilingual, that those trainings would be offered, and also that all paperwork and documentation would be available in Spanish as well.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Murillo.
How many substitutes do we have right now?
We have a little over 300.
Okay. I really like the 5-day. I know a lot of substitutes say they work 4 days and then they go to other districts to work the 1 day or 1 day and a half or 2 and 2, just to make sure that they cover all 5 days. So I think this is really nice, even for the other districts that they're not here, that they're gonna be like, okay, now I want to work the 2.5 days on this side and the benefits too. Now, another question: if someone applies, because that's something that has come up a lot from the community, that they apply and they don't hear back, or they have to reapply. If people apply through you guys and they don't get selected for whatever reason, will you guys notify, you know what, you're not selected, instead of just them wandering around and...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's part of that application, the applicant team that we have. So, yeah, they're going to be letting them know. Are you able to hear
I'm sorry.
that?
Yes, if you could get closer to the mic because we have online as well. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. That's part of that application team, so that they're going to be tracking all of that, and they will absolutely notify them.
So right now, we have one person doing this for our whole district. They're going to have a team just for hiring. I mean, they're going to be an asset in the sense of just the personnel that they have behind the scenes working. They're going to get better communication.
I just want to make the comment that, I'm excited about this, and I think that people should become excited about it. Just looking at the benefits, that's already a plus. Looking forward to how that's going to be a benefit to substitute benefits, how it's going to be benefit, of benefit to them. I think that once they see what it looks like, maybe at the beginning it might be a little bit confusing, and I appreciate that you're going to be holding that orientation or for them to understand what it's going to look like and what the benefit of all of this is going to be.
I want to reiterate that we care for our subs and we want better and more for them. And I think that hearing that we have a third party coming in is a little scary for them, but I can't highlight that this is for them. This is for improved services for them. And so, them being able to qualify for benefits just with one day working a week, that's amazing. That is something that Gadsden cannot offer them.
Go ahead, Ms. Morales.
And I'm not sure who can answer this question, but I'm kind of curious if a substitute under this new program, if they would be eligible to run for the school board. Because they wouldn't be employed directly by the school, right?
I think the question is they're eligible now because they're not employed now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that doesn't change. They would be able to. I think we can ask legal about that a little bit more, but they're not considered employees of the district.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Vice President, board members, the conflict right now is that they could run for the board, but they couldn't receive a check from us. Once they're EduStaff, they can work for EduStaff all day because they're receiving a check from them.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Amy. And then I just want to say, for those listening, HR is there for our substitutes to answer any questions or any concerns they might have. Please feel free to call our department, and we're happy to address them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I think it was already said that Mrs. Burciaga is taking care of 14H, Rethink Ed, Rethink Care.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. So we in HR deal with our employees. We are the employee service department. And in my 3 years of being associate superintendent of the department, I have really wanted to offer our staff something. More and more, we hear concerns about their well-being, how they are feeling, how they are suffering from burnout even. And so we have a new initiative in our department to begin a wellness program. And to begin this program, we have partnered with Rethink Ed and Rethink Care. This platform is a social, emotional wellness, good health platform that is for our employees only. This is not something that they have to teach their students, that they have to carry out. It's not more work, more burden. What it is it's a platform that offers them tips, resources on how to care for themselves. And I do have a representative from Rethink Ed and Rethink Care. Her name is Angela Matlock. We have been working diligently together. I'm very excited about this initiative. It is a step in the right direction to show our employees that they are important to us, and we do want to retain them. We want them to continue to work for Gadsden because we care about them. And so with further ado, please, Miss Angela Matlock.
Thank you. Here you go, sweetie. Thank you. No, you're good, girl. Madam Vice President, Board, and Superintendent Dempsey, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to visit with you about Rethink Ed and Rethink Care. It is a wonderful platform, and it's designed to help your employees and to, I will let you go to the next slide because that will let you know I am originally from Texas. I do look for houses in New Mexico every time I visit, so if that counts, it's not necessarily home, but think about it. Here are my two children. I've spent 20 years in public education. I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and that boy that you see right there was an alt-cert teacher that gave up after a year. And he did not necessarily give up because of the students. He gave up because he felt like there was a lack of support for him. And he really felt the stress of teaching. And so if I would have been able to provide this resource for him, what a big difference that would have made. So I will let you move on to the next slide. I will tell you a little bit about our partnership with Gadsden right now. We are designed to help prevent staff burnout, like she said, and turnover. I know that's a huge issue. And we are also designed to help all of your staff, not just your teachers, but your instructional assistants, your transportation staff, your support staff, all across your entire district. They can access both of our platforms for wellness and professional development. And so we can move on to the next slide. Oh, I will tell you this professional partnership that we've got It has been a long time in the making. We've been working together, rolling out an implementation plan. Our staff has been here in the past month, working one-on-one with your teams. We actually have teams set up on each one of your campuses, and we've been training them in person on how to access both of these platforms, how to utilize them effectively in their PLC meetings. As well as, how to utilize them in order to prevent a lot of those HR issues that she was discussing. And so when we think about Rethink Ed, we have a professional training series, and you can move on to the next slide, that actually features all of our experts on our Rethink Ed staff. I think about it like TED Talk for anybody who enjoys TED Talk, because, it's that little snippet of information. You're like, hey, I've got 5 minutes of great information. And so we've partnered with experts in a variety of fields, including, medical experts and psychology and social workers and trauma professionals that really focus on wellness and mental well-being for adults, and especially adults who serve students and children. And so all of these on-demand video modules are available for your entire staff. So if they wanted to log in and spend 5 minutes, reviewing things like, hey, anxiety is present in adults as well as kids, and here are some great resources on how to deal with anxiety as an adult. And if you do encounter it working with your children, some of those like first level responses and just a better understanding for them. And so we will move on to the next slide as well. I will go through this fast. I know I'm at the end of the agenda, so I'm moving quick. All right. So when we think about all of the things that are covered, and I always joke and tell everybody all the time, we think these are only skills that children are lacking, but just scroll social media for a little bit and you will realize these are skills that adults still struggle with. And I remind myself all the time, I am in a constant state of learning about how to resolve conflict, at my job, how to resolve conflict at home effectively. And, how do I deal with, depression? How do I deal with, struggling for work-life balance? And these are things that are constantly going on with all of us, and we can all benefit from that continuing learning process. So with our Rethink Ed platform, we have over 44 modules that kind of focus these areas for adults. We also have a mental health module where we talk about trauma. We talk about anxiety with adults. We talk about online safety. I wish I could have my mother watch that, actual training, because I'm like, these people, you don't need to accept their friend request on Facebook. That's a scam. So these are just things that we talk about all the time. And these are things that adults need to learn. And we also have mindfulness available. And again, this is available for all of your staff. It is not a lengthy process. And right now we are implementing it with your PLCs the first 10 minutes. And it really does take the work away from your staff. They're able to show a quick 8-10 minute video and then say, hey, these are some additional resources, books. These are some visuals. I have, visuals that I use that remind me about relaxation and remaining focused throughout the day. And all of these are available for your entire staff. And so we can move on to the next slide as well. And we will now move into Rethink Care. I absolutely love this platform. This is a very easy platform to maneuver for your staff. Again, all of your staff have access to it. You can go to the next slide and I will sort of break down. This is a platform that contains not just quick videos of trainings, but you will find things like articles and, books and things that cover things like financial responsibility when you're dealing with financial stress. That's one that I've watched. We have ones that are like, hey, how do I deal with insomnia? How do I deal with the issues that maybe I have with child, discipline at my home and dealing with just raising my kids? And again, these are all modules and extension activities, articles, videos that are all available for your entire staff. And you can move to the next slide. I will break that down. It shows all of the different things that are available for personal as well as professional. So your staff are able to say, hey, I need to focus more on some of these personal issues that I may not be able to talk with HR necessarily about or share, and I may not feel comfortable, but there is a resource available for me when I'm dealing with financial stress, when I'm dealing with, divorce and loss and grieving. All of these are available, as well as the professional piece. And you can move to the next slide. And these all come from experts as well. We make sure that we partner with an expert, team of experts, where you can see we have someone who is just working for Visa. So they probably are looking at credit scores right now and saying, hey, we can help people by ways to improve your credit. And this is actually something that you can sign up for and have access to. And you can move on to the next slide as well. All of these modules that you're going to be able to see are available for all of your staff. Again, they cover professional as well as personal issues that your staff, and we actually survey your staff and get a response from them and get input from them. And so that's how we kind of knew where to target our virtual sessions, our live sessions, by saying, hey, these are issues that your staff said. We have issues with financial stress. We have issues with anxiety. We deal with burnout, work-life balance. And so we've really targeted our sessions on exactly what your staff has expressed their needs are. And you can go to the next slide as well. Every month, we meet with your team and share with them exactly what your staff is utilizing. So they get the data on the implementation, how it's looking, how many people have logged in, how many people are accessing this module, completing this training. One of the other things that we were very excited to share is each time they complete a training and rethink, they get credit towards their hours that they have to complete. And for those of you who've been educators, we have so many continuing education hours that we have to complete. So now when they do the trainings and Rethink Ed, they're able to come back with a certificate and say, hey, this goes towards our hours that we have to complete. And that's a huge thing, because we all know that takes time and money, for your staff. So we report monthly to your teams, let them know how each campus is doing. We break it down by campus so that we can make very strategic and targeted improvements. And we can say, hey, it looks like your high school would really benefit from these professional developments, these trainings, and these sessions, and we can customize that. And you can go on to the next slide. Just in case you want for yourself to have access and to be able to look, you can download our learning guide and our Rethink Care course catalog. You're able to sign up for, Rethink Care, and one, it'll pop up and say, hey, spend 5 minutes relaxing. Make sure you can take a walk, go outside, feel the sunshine. Those are those little things that we try to share, where your staff can look through all the different courses and all the different resources and continue to pick the ones that meet their needs. And so I will, we have a copy of this we can share with you as well. And I believe the last slide is my contact information. I always welcome you to reach out to me and at any time, and to say, hey, how is this going? I have questions. And of course, again, we meet with your staff, we meet with your team monthly, and stay in great contact to update them about all of the things that we're doing with our implementation. And do you have any questions for me?
Any questions? Yes, I do.
Yes,
Is
I'm
any of
excited.
this covered by HIPAA?
Yes, it is. And this is also, and you reminded me, this is also available in English and in Spanish.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yes.
Another thing is, it's already available?
Yes, it is already available for all of your team members. We made sure that everybody had logins. Right now, we're currently working on making it a little bit easier for them to log in by integrating through Clever. And that will be rolled out. That's so much easier than having to remember a password and everything. They'll just be able to click on the icon and log in immediately. So we're working on making it a little bit easier for accessibility, but it is already available for staff.
Okay. And one last question.
Sure.
How did this collaboration begin?
I'll let you answer that.
So over the years, we are encountering not problems, but issues with employees that aren't necessarily the typical HR discipline grievance route. It's really employees coming to us with, I'm not getting along with this person and I don't know how to get along with this person. I did this because all these things are happening to me. And we didn't have a resource. We didn't have a resource to offer them in human resources. So if you recall, we had several board meetings where one of their vendors came and spoke and talked about it a little bit. So we reached out to them and we began that communication and that partnership. And so now that's where we are.
So, okay, I lied. One more question.
Okay.
So when did you guys reach out to them to follow it up?
So we actually implemented or started to implement this, it would be spring of 2024. So not, well, we had it all last year, so that the year before, maybe I got the year wrong. That's when we started. We had the availability last year. We started this initiative, but I don't think we rolled it out effectively in the sense that it really made employees say, I could do this during work. And also, will I get in trouble for taking time to do this during the working day? So we have relaunched it. And what we have done is created teams, one that includes an administrator, so that they understand that at their campus, this is acceptable. An employee can be allowed the time to utilize this resource. Did I answer your question, Mr. Morales?
Yes. Now I just have a comment.
Okay.
I would encourage Mr. Dempsey and HR to capitalize on the positive benefits of supporting the staff and make sure that they understand that this is a benefit that doesn't come to everybody and that you are truly looking out for their well-being. I would really do as much as I could to capitalize on that.
Thank you.
And I will just follow up and say, I hope no one from Texas is actually watching this because you guys are doing it right. And I don't always see that in Texas. You know, we sometimes see that backward approach, but you guys are really taking the appropriate approach by saying we want to make sure our adults and our employees are valued and healthy, and therefore they are able to support our students better. So kudos to you guys. I'm very impressed with New Mexico and Gadsden ISD. You're doing a great job. So yeah, I hope no one from Texas is watching right now. So thank you guys so much. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
No. One thing I would like to see is that now that it's been rolled out differently or what did you call it?
Relaunched.
Something with both programs. I would like to see some data. You know, like I know you're receiving it already on a monthly basis through Rethink, but maybe providing us that information on a maybe every 3 months. I don't know, coming up with something where we can see how effective and how it's been utilized, and especially also with the subs. Like we know right now there's 300, and see the difference between what before and the after.
Sure, I can absolutely come with updates to the board on how each partnership is progressing. Anything
Excellent.
else?
Thank you. I think that is it.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. So the next thing here, item 15, is just upcoming board meetings and events. Everyone can look through those and make sure you put them in your calendar so that we don't miss any of them. And now item 16, closed session. It is the discussion of purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property as permitted under section 10-15-1, H7 of New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically for the board to discuss the sale of district-owned property. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we go into closed session.
Ms. Murillo has made a motion that we go into closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And motion passes. Thank you, everyone. We're good? Thank you for joining us this evening.
Just 3 minutes.